What's this? What are these?
What's that?
We're live. Hello, everyone.
Oh no.
What's that?
Right, Caradog is just getting more coffee, and then we will be right with you. Also, I'm going to take off this jumper because I'm hot already, and I've only just sat down.
Very well.
I can fix this. I can fix this.
Tactical modesty screen.
There we go. Male presenting nipples. All right.
Again, thinking about words too much. I've thought about that. Where they say that, is that a male presenting nipples? Or nipples that present as male?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Just that moment reminded me of once upon a time I was in a coffee shop and I went to remove my jumper and just all the layers came off at the same time. I was just like, ugh, and put it all back on. I was like, right, now let's do that a bit more carefully, kind of thing.
Slowly.
Right. Okay, yes, hello everyone. How are we doing? Live camera stripping. First 3 seconds leaves. Oh no. Good. Right. How are we all doing? We're on time-ish. We are precisely when we intend to. Oh, I'm going to close the front door actually, otherwise we're going to have people coming in. Because we very much look like we're open at the moment. Stand by, everyone. Nice. Close the gates. You will be boiled. Wait. I hate it when that happens. That's good enough. That's not going to pick up on the mics anyway.
That's good enough, whatever. Standards. What are they?
Indeed. Good. Caradog's mic is not on.
Do I need to turn myself on?
Oh, you're muted. That's why.
Oh.
Yep. Sorry. Caradog was muted.
Very well. So I was just sat here talking to people.
Yeah, you were obviously bleeding through my mic, and then as I walked across the room, you just suddenly faded away. So, all right. Good. Right. All sorted. Well, it was a good thing we did that then. Also, I'm going to close the blind because I can do that as well now, and not have people looking through and going, "Oh, are you open?" kind of thing. There we go. Yeah, people who get the exclusive videos know exactly what's going on. There's a blind now. It's great.
I
Okay.
help blind kids.
Okay. Do you help kids who are blind, or do you assist in the blinding of kids?
Yes.
Is it true that the RTX 4000 has been delayed? I don't know. Is that a thing? Have you heard of that? You keep track of these things more than I do, I think.
In a word, no. In more words, yes. If you believed that it was going to be launched in July, which very few people who had actual sources did. Excuse me. Which I think is the actual comment on that.
Yeah. Oh, hang on a sec.
It has not been delayed.
Your input looks low compared to me, but it's not the thing. Yeah, maybe try having it outside of the shirt instead of on the inside, which is less tidy. But
oh my god!
hang on a sec.
Will you clip?
Rustle. There we go.
That'll do for now for testing.
Yeah, it's annoying when they kind of
doing
hang
it?
out like this. But stay soft again.
Is this doing it? Why are my levels so low?
Yeah.
I'm picking up louder on your microphone than I am on this microphone.
Oh no, your microphone is off now. Oh, what the shit is going on here? Hold on. That microphone is off.
Now it has blue lights.
What?
Hello?
Oh, I know what's going on. When we did the talking head, you changed the mode on the receiver. you set the receiver to mono mode. The receiver is in a different mode.
Oh, right. Now I understand.
That's why it's behaving weirdly, and that's why it doesn't make any sense on the mixer. Yeah, your mic is still effectively not picking up. All right, hold up, everyone, and we'll fix it. Ben Laird, thank you for the thing.
The money and the stuff. You did it.
Yep. Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. Let's see. Okay. Right. Okay. I'm going to see if I can fix it.
We will see what happens. Either we will have no sound and then we will have the correct sound, or we'll just have the correct sound.
What I'll do, I'll swap mics.
Very well. Oh, and now we're clipping.
All right.
So that went well.
Right. So can people hear me? Am I appearing on the levels at the moment? I don't think I am. I am. How?
You are appearing on both levels.
Huh. Oh, I think. Oh, is this number 2? No, this is number 1.
This is the one labeled 2. What is going on?
I don't know. Hang on a minute. Let me come and have a look at that end again. Right. So we've swapped mics. Let me put this one on. Okay, right. This is me speaking normally. That looks fine. Now you affix a microphone and speak in a normal tone of voice.
It doesn't work that way around.
Fair enough.
There we go. Talking in a normal tone of voice.
You look fine now. Okay, I don't know and I don't care.
Something, things, who knows? I will adjust and rustle.
Yeah. It's definitely... They're in mono mode. So we're not getting the splitting that we're supposed to have. That much is certain. I'm going to look at it. Sorry, everyone. I know...
I am now bamboozled.
Yes. The problem is Caradog was fiddling with it. I'm blaming you entirely.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay, how do we...
You press the 2 buttons at the same time, I think.
Okay.
And then the display should change, and you should get 2 bars.
Ah, yes, I know what you mean.
Across the top, a left and a right.
There we go.
Now I'm peaking when I speak. So I now have to speak quieter, otherwise I go quite red.
Right. So, hang on a sec, I'm going to tap on this one. Peak, peak.
And now when I speak, I start peaking.
There we go, that's more like it. This is what it should be like now. There we go.
But tapping on it does nothing.
You've got to get the tap right, otherwise it filters it. Also, that's because that one has background noise filtering on it, but this one has it turned off because the noise filtering was killing the bass in your voice. So I had your one set up differently, which is why you were specifically using mic number 1, because it's set up differently. Okay, right. We've... Hello everyone, welcome to the show. We've got a great show lined up to show you.
We will show you great things, many things, the greatest of things.
Yes.
Many people will have told you that I have great things to show you.
Yes, there we go, right, okay. Right, that should all sound about correct now. You need to normalize yourself, drink the cider. I plan to. I'm going to drink this coffee as quickly as I can and then move straight onto cider today because it's a lovely heckin' day outside. Right.
Yes, I spent the morning in a field eating a picnic.
Indeed. We're not talking about the word picnic though. So, right. 2 guys sound check. Yeah, okay, it's all sorted though. The beard adds to the acoustic damping. It actually, the struggle is actually real for people with beards.
How often do you nudge it and then...
I don't think it's too bad for me. However, I watched one of the car channels that I watch occasionally, Benny's Custom Works. Benny has a big old bushy beard kind of thing. So he just can't wear lapel mics because it will always be underneath the beard and muffle everything. So he has to have his lapel mic mounted somewhere weird. Otherwise, his beard covers it. So I'm honestly surprised he hasn't just embraced it and he's just started clipping lapel mics into his beard. Because, like, you can't do that with these Rhodes, but if you had just a small lapel mic, you could easily just go with it and just have it in the beard.
Oh, like the little plug-in to the Rode
Yeah,
you
that's
have
right.
somewhere.
Yeah.
The little one you just...
Yeah, and it could just be in the beard, just flapping around in the breeze, you know. So, yeah. Mechanical Stig, yes, Luke, yes. The kids' PC video, soon. I'm just going to start saying soon every time I see that question now. It'll be out when it's out, soon. Right, opinions, please. Bought a laptop from eBay. Didn't cost much, but needed more parts than I thought. From a business point of view, would you part the laptop out or repair it and break even? It depends how much free time you've got, if I'm honest. If you've got lots of free time to part it out on eBay, you know, obviously you'll get more money for that, but it's just really time consuming and it's a hassle. But if that's something that you do as part of your business, that's less of an issue.
Also depends on why you bought it. Because if you bought it as a working laptop and it's not a working laptop, that's not what you've bought.
True. I think
if you've bought something to fix and then sell, or to part and sell, then yeah, absolutely, it's a different conversation. And assuming that that's what that is, then
From the context, I'm guessing it was purchased as a fixer-upper.
Yeah.
It's just he's probably just received it and been like, oh, this needs a lot more than I thought it would, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it were me, I'd probably fix it and break even and move on with my life. I tend to do that because for me, I would rather break even or take the hit and move on to something that will profit than put in even more time and stress and mental energy trying to make good on a job that has gone wrong. And there are pros and cons to that, you know, like if you're having to do that all the time, then perhaps you're doing something wrong. And there are certainly occasions where that might happen to me. There are certainly occasions where that happens to me more than once a week, where I take a hit on something or just end up breaking even just to get rid of it. And I probably do that more often than I should. But on the flip side, once you've done that, you're like, right, good, it's gone. Now I can work on X, which is immediately going to make me money. And now I feel better that I'm not stressing out over this stupid job that is not going to plan, kind of thing. So again, it depends on how much free time you have to that extent. If you don't have a lot on the go and you're just like, I've got no issue parting this thing out, part it out and make the money back. That's my take.
And I don't know if it's a slightly biased opinion, but from the position that I'm in with the company that I work for, I'm very much in the luxury position of just going, I don't need you as a customer.
Yeah.
I don't need you as a client. It's better for me to go, I've heard what you said, nothing's changing, you are more than free to leave.
Yeah.
Thank you and goodbye.
Yeah.
Move on to someone else, sort of thing. And whilst that's not a case of saying that you should push people away, it's a case of when you see that the client has already made that decision of they're unhappy with you, and it's going to take an inordinate amount of effort and sacrifice to make them no longer unhappy but not even satisfied. Yeah. It's often case better just to go, thank you for your comment, this is the situation, there will be no change.
Yeah.
Please go somewhere else now.
And also,
whilst being professional.
Yeah, and also we're starting to drift off onto tangents now, but also sometimes if alarm bells are ringing in your head on a job, then listen to the alarm bells. Because, you know, like I've got a laptop in the shop at the moment, which originally came in with an unknown password. And then, the client needed data from it. Then for reasons that I won't divulge, the laptop was involved in a police crime case, and at that, I know that's an escalation, but whatever. And at that point, I was like, "Cool, that's fine. I'm not going to touch it anymore. Feel free to come and get it." And it sat here for another couple of weeks. Then I heard back from the customer, and they're like, "Right, the police crime case, as I'll refer to it as, is resolved. No action is being taken. We now want the data back." And I'm just like, okay. And
however, I am now uncomfortable in being involved in this.
that's just it. And now the problem is I ummed and was just like, okay, I'm gonna get the data off it. And then they were like, also I'm at the other side of the country now, so you'll need to put it on a flash drive and post it to me. And I'm just like, oh, that's hassle. I don't need that in my life. However,
You're just like, my prices have now doubled.
yeah, but I agreed to do it. And as soon as I hung up, I was like, why did I do that? Why did I not just say, no, absolutely not, come and get this laptop, I'm not having anything to do with it?
Yeah.
Because now there's a laptop on my shelf and I'm like, what possessed me not to throw this out of my front door into the street? Because that is absolutely what I should have done. And I'm just like, so now I've got to deal with that. So if you get a device that's giving you alarm bells, get rid of it. Don't put that stress in your life. Just get rid of it, you know?
And sometimes it can be really minor things of just a case of, I feel like this client is never going to actually leave me alone if I do this work for them. Just tell them that it's not something I can help with. It's outside of the scope of our expertise. Please move along.
I've actually had a lot of positive feedback from customers lately where I've convinced them not to go ahead with a repair. Namely on older devices. And like this is kind of like, take for example, pre-Retina MacBook. So I'm talking like 2011, 2012 MacBook Pros kind of thing. My policy for those is when they're in good condition, you can stick 8 gigs of RAM and an SSD in them and they give a good user experience. But when they're in bad condition, they're just prone to problems. So stuff starts breaking on them, and then the MCP starts rotting away and giving graphical errors and stuff like that, and they're just a money pit of issues. So they're a bit hidden. So sometimes customers and I had a customer come in yesterday wanting a battery for a 2012, and they called up and firstly, my policy when people call up and say I want a battery for my laptop, can you quote me? I will estimate them. I'll say, okay, based on what you've told me it should cost this amount, but I will not order the battery nor give you a hard quote until I have seen the laptop. Because there's been too many cases where someone has said, I've got an X, and then they bring in a Y. Which has either been because they were just complete idiots, or just sometimes they didn't realize that there are subtle differences. Like, for example, the 2014 and 2015 MacBook Pros, very, very subtle differences between them, but there are some very important layout differences inside the laptops that mean, for example, on the 15-inch MacBook Pro, the 2014 and 2015 takes a different battery. Now, you can work around that, but whatever.
Yeah.
The point is,
like the person who came in a couple of weeks ago, they were sold a 2012 in 2015.
Yes, that's right.
And stuff like that.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, exactly that. They said, oh, I bought it in 2015, but it was actually a new old stock 2012. Which is obviously a completely different animal to a 2015. So yeah, so the customer brought it in and this MacBook Pro was a wreck. It was a wreck, basically. And he said, oh, do you think it's worth replacing the battery? And I said, honestly, like I was mentioning on the phone, if it's not in good condition, I would not start putting money into this. And I'm not going to lie to you, this laptop is not in good condition. You can see where the hinges are literally about to let go here. And that type of hinge damage will require a new display assembly, which means now you need a new battery. You're going to need a new display assembly within the next few months if you continue to use this laptop. We know that this thing has a hard drive in it, which is going to be on its last leg, so it's going to want a hard drive. It probably has 4 gigs of RAM, so you're going to want to bump that up to 8 gigs to maintain a good user experience. And my God, the cost is suddenly spiraling way out of control. And I tell you what I saw on eBay yesterday. I was talking to someone about buying secondhand Dell Latitudes. This laptop is a 6th gen i5. You can get a Latitude like this with an 8th gen i5 in it on eBay today for £240. Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw that. I was like, what? That's a steal. And like
it's stolen.
No, the only thing that was wrong with it is there were some pressure marks on the screen, some minor pressure marks.
The only issue was it needed a new screen.
No, it was completely tolerable. it was just a case of, just the screen had been pinched on the edges, like a little bit here and there. But, I looked at that and I pointed it out to the customer. I was like, oh, you can see where the marks are, but like, man, I wouldn't be fussed about that. And he's like, oh, no, I don't care about that. It's £240 for an 8th Gen i5 laptop. My God, you will not find better value for that. And yeah, just things like that exist. Right, getting back on topic though. So this chap who wanted a battery for his MacBook Pro. So yeah, I was honest with him and I said, look, I'm going to level with you. This one is not in good condition. It's going to continue to have problems. You could replace the battery on it, but based on my past experience, you will find that this thing just keeps having issues from here on out. First it's the battery, then it's going to be the display, then it's going to be the hard drive, then it's going to run out of RAM, then the MCP is probably going to rust out from the inside. And it will just be one thing after another and you will fall into a sunken cost. And he was just like, you know what, I really appreciate your honesty. I'm going to go and buy a new laptop. I'm going to go and get a second-hand laptop. And then we actually had a conversation about latitudes. And yeah, as I say, sometimes brutal honesty, but in a nice way, will get you a lot of favor with a client.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah.
Being honest. Depressingly, people don't expect you to be honest. So when you are honest, especially when it's putting you out of work, is something that is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, exactly that. And again, thankfully, I'm also in a position where I can turn away work and be okay.
Certainly turning away work that you feel uncomfortable with.
Yeah, exactly that. Especially because also, especially in instances like this, where it's going to garner good favor with that client, which means you're probably going to see them again with something else. It's the same reason why 9 times out of 10, when someone comes in and they say, oh, have you got a spare, I need a kettle lead or something like that, I'll grab one and they'll be like, oh, how much is that? And I'm just like, that's fine, take it. I have boxes of them.
Actually, would you like a box of them?
Yeah.
Would you like a box?
Yes.
Can I give you a box?
And like, I could charge them £3 for a kettle lead because that's probably how much a kettle lead costs on eBay. Or I could give it to them for free and they're like, oh, thanks a lot, man. Yeah. And they're going to be back. And it didn't cost me anything because I've got a box of them. You
have like 6 boxes of them.
That's right. So again, it's just, sometimes lost leaders, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yes, 6th Gen, no Windows 11 for me. I'm not fussed. And what's the news on that as well? I saw something about how apparently laptop devices that are not devices where people have put unsupported Windows 11 on them are getting the new build update. So apparently they are being supported. Well, supported. There are software updates for them. Is that true?
As far as I understand, the scope of the situation is a case of if you get Windows 11 to install on a device, you will get Windows updates on it currently. However, there is no guarantee, there is no warranty, there is no support.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Funnily enough,
I don't
that's
care about
what
any
Microsoft
of that.
said.
Yeah.
However, there was an issue with one of the build updates recently where it went out randomly to unsupported devices. And like it went out to just the wrong devices.
Interesting.
The initial comment I saw was that it was an insider build that went out to the wrong devices. So you had to already be registered for the insider program. But
or maybe,
I don't know.
Although also, is that just a bunch of people who put the public preview on their unsupported laptop? And then because it was a public preview, it was just like, I'm a preview version of Windows, therefore I'm going to download insider builds because I'm running preview Windows.
I don't know. I have seen very little information about it because I don't particularly care because I don't support Windows 11 at the moment because we've not upgraded in the office. And I see no reason to upgrade the office.
Yeah, that's
my
why.
biggest annoyance with it is still the fact that I can't drag onto icons on the taskbar and open the other window.
Yeah.
And I do that.
That's part of your
least
workflow.
30 times a day.
Yeah.
Maybe 50.
Yeah.
And I'm just like.
Yeah, that's the thing. This
is a hill that I'm almost certain I will die on.
Yeah, like I don't dislike Windows 11. But like I'm running Windows 11 on the shop floor PCs, including the Lianli, which is my secondary gaming PC and my VR PC. And so I'm getting a reasonable amount of use of Windows 11 on that computer. And again, it's just like, because that is a computer, like during the day and right now, it's outputting sound to speakers. When I'm playing games with friends or sitting in Discord, I want a headset on. When I'm playing VR, I want the sound to go to the headset. So that's 3 different audio outputs and inputs that I'm potentially using there. Naturally, I want to manually switch between them because auto-switching audio inputs and outputs is always janky. You have to do everything in a certain order. But again, just in Windows 11, that is just another 2 clicks deeper than it was on Windows 10. And just every time I go to switch audio inputs, I'm just like, oh, I've got to go into settings, then audio, and then this was 2 clicks on Windows 10. Now it's like 4 clicks, and I have to have a window open to do it instead of it just being on the taskbar. And it's the little things like that that make Windows 11 annoying, but none of these are deal breakers. None of these prevent me from using the computer. But all of these things are reasons why I haven't upgraded my home PC yet. Because I'm just like, I have no incentive to upgrade that home PC to 11 because it's not going to do anything that it can't already do, and it's going to introduce those tiny little annoyances.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm still stuck in that chicken and egg scenario where I'm just like, I have no desire to upgrade to 11. There's nothing wrong with it for me.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do anything for me.
I'm also slightly concerned because we're on the 2nd build update for Windows 11 now, aren't we? I think
so.
We're now on the 2nd build update for Windows 11, and on my using of it, I'm still going, every single one of my annoyances is still here. Therefore, they are not seen as a problem. Therefore, they're not getting fixed.
It's either low priority or it's not even on their radar.
Therefore, it's like, I feel like Windows 11 is hanging on the point of, I don't know if I'll be able to use it for a whole bunch of stuff. It's just like,
Mr. Guru, I see your kettle jokes, by the way. I appreciate you. Yeah. Yeah, I concur. And
that concerns me. Because it's a case of, I know I've only got 2 more years, 2.5 years of support on Windows 10.
That's the other thing.
Therefore, I have to get on with it.
Yeah. And that's also my thoughts exactly why, one of the reasons why I'm sort of still like, at this point, it would be fairly common sense to be like, fine, don't upgrade then. But also, as I so often have to say to customers and sometimes just other people on the internet, it's a case of, it's the new flagship Windows. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You're going to have to upgrade to it.
Yeah.
And the only possible way in which you might not be upgrading to it is if you're one of those people who turns around and says, I'm going to wait for Windows 12. And it's like, do you think that's going to be any better? You know,
I don't know.
I doubt it. You know, like, there are lots of people that are just like, well, I skipped past Windows 8. And it's like, well, retrospectively, there was nothing really well, no, that's a can of worms, I guess. I don't think we're going to get another situation where you can skip versions of Windows, especially because the way things currently look, Windows is now getting very long life cycles. Because Windows 10 had one of the longest life cycles of any version of Windows.
6 years?
Yeah, and I think XP is the only version that has matched that.
Yeah, because XP was saying like 8 or 9 years for security updates, wasn't it?
That's right. And
No, it wasn't. No, it was a lot longer than that. For security
Well,
updates.
it depends. Yeah, it depends on when you classify it as, because actual support was a ridiculous amount of time, probably a decade.
Yeah.
But before it was considered obsolete, at least, per se. Like, for example, when Windows Vista came out, XP was no longer the flagship. So how long was that? That was probably 4 or 5 years between XP and Vista. When was Vista? 2006? 2007?
Probably 2007.
Yeah.
I'd guess.
And XP was what, 2003? So yeah, it's about 5 years.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm struggling, to be honest, but yeah.
yeah, 2006, really? Okay. Yeah, well, and XP. Oh, XP was 2001, really? Oh, yeah, fair enough. Well, yeah, there you go then. Yeah, 2001 to 2006. So there you go. XP had 5 years before it was considered obsolete by the release of Vista, before it was
Yeah.
superseded.
Yeah, that was. There were mitigating factors in that as well.
Yeah, but
that
then-
was not Microsoft's plan at the time.
Yeah.
Because they completely axed an entire version of Windows that they were going
Yes,
to release
precisely.
in that time.
However, the point remains is
yeah.
that XP had that long life cycle, which was one of the reasons why everyone was so ingrained with XP, because it was all they'd ever known. You know, but then, so, you know, Vista to 7, that was what? So 2009 for 7, I think, wasn't it? So that
It was saying only like 2 years.
Yeah, so that was like 3 or 4 years for 7. 7 to 8, so 8 was what, 2012? So that was only about 3 years or so. So yeah, and then so Windows 10 had a really heckin' long life cycle. And so that's why Windows 10 is going to be the next XP. People are going to cling to that to the bitter end, which is one of the reasons why Microsoft say they're ending it in 2025. I will be amazed if it actually dies in 25. You know, I'm not saying whether they should or shouldn't. I'm not gonna weigh in on that. But I will be very surprised if 10 actually dies in 25. I will be very surprised.
Yeah.
However, but going back to the original point is that 11 is the new version of Windows, and we can expect Windows 11 to have a product life cycle of about 5 years. So therefore, it's a case of no, you're not, you know, even if Windows 10 makes it to 25, the chances of you skipping past 11 to Windows 12 and gambling that Windows 12 is going to be the new savior, I don't know, man. I think you're better off just getting used to Windows 11. So that brings us back round to the point of love it or hate it. I think we should get used to it. I think
it is
your
going
time...
to be a case, for some things, it is going to be a case of needing to use third-party software to fix basic user experience stuff at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable
And it's just
approach.
kind of a case of I'm just like, that's such a terrible situation.
Yeah, that sucks, but also I think that is going to be the reality of it.
Yeah.
Because we've had this conversation before on the podcast, just not in a while, but at the end of the day, the way that Windows 11 works makes a lot of sense for the unwashed masses. It just doesn't make sense for power users. Now, we can have a discussion over whether Microsoft have cocked up by not catering to power users, but the fact is that they clearly haven't.
Yeah, I think the thing that makes it the most confusing to me is the fact that they have removed features that didn't get in the way.
Yes.
Like the being able to drag onto an icon on the taskbar, it opening the window, you being able to drop into the window.
Yeah.
I can't see how that could have gotten in the way.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
it's just like, I don't see why that needed to be removed to fit into the new design philosophy. And I think also, to a degree, part of the issue is we don't have Windows Phone anymore.
Yeah.
And because with Windows Phone, we could see what Microsoft's thinking was in 2 channels and kind of go, oh, they're going in this way and in this way. And this is indicating it this, and this is indicating it that, and so on. And we don't have that, so we don't have that secondary insight into the thought process for Windows 11 design.
Yes, because we get that kind of view with Apple products between iOS and macOS.
Yeah.
You get that kind of 2 views and how one often leads into the other and vice versa.
And
it's
also
a very
a case
interesting
of-
dynamic, and you're right, we did momentarily have that with Windows Mobile.
Yeah, and well, we had it for a reasonably long time because we obviously had Windows Mobile from 2003, and then we had Windows Phone.
Yes, sorry, Windows Phone. Windows Mobile, I don't know, does that count?
It had a start menu that you could pin programs to, that you could search from. It functioned in the same way as NT4 did for a lot of stuff. You know, the design language was very similar between them. It was a start menu overlaying on the screen over the top of your app that you're viewing, the same way as the taskbar works.
Yeah.
You switched by tapping on the taskbar. things like that. So there are an awful lot of parallels on the general using of the device, even though it was a phone like this or a PDA like this, as opposed to your laptop. So, yeah, I do think there are actually a reasonably large number of parallels, but yeah, it's just we don't have that now, and I do wonder if we've gone in an interesting direction for that, and I'm not sure what the direction is. I don't think I've seen anything from Microsoft saying this is our design goal.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that makes it harder to accept, is because you can't see where they're trying to go, and we can't see why they're doing things.
Agreed. And also all of because also the thing when I'm being a Windows 11 apologist per se and saying this is why it's this way kind of thing, all of that design philosophy is reactionary. It's all of the issues with the way that Windows 11 hides everything away and so on and so forth. This is all part of mitigation of Microsoft trying to get the image of Windows being a cluttered, bloated mess. It's them trying to do damage control over that perception of Windows instead of actually focusing on a vision of what they want Windows to look like. And they must. Part of me is like, instead of covering everything up, they should have just grabbed OEMs by the balls and said, "Stop doing this." You know.
But I wonder if it's...
perhaps they are unable to do that because of contractual obligations, etc. Like they can't stop OEMs from installing bloatware. They can't say to OEMs, "You're not allowed to install preloaded software on these systems."
Perhaps. Also a case of, to fix a problem like that, to a degree, they have to go to an extreme and then filter back with better control in place. Because if you go to the hard line of there is no bloatware, there is no visible anything, etc., 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 everything is hidden, everything is removed. And then the next version, you bring stuff back in, but you go, here are very tight, explicit controls. Here are very specific ways in which stuff can come in. It's a much better position than where it was.
Yeah, agreed. Whereas the problem with that 11 has is that they've covered everything up, but it's not actually gone. They haven't solved the problem at all. They've just put a big old throw rug over the top of it.
But it's kind of a case of, to a degree, because of how slow everything is, because there are so many layers and so many companies, they kind of have to. Because if you broke all of the way that software worked, everyone would blame Microsoft. They wouldn't blame the software developer who couldn't be asked to write decent software. They wouldn't blame the software developer who's making it page to temporary folder 11,000 times a second. They would blame Microsoft for blocking that as suspicious activity because it looks like ransomware. But no, it's actually just an app polling to see if it's got permissions. But for some reason, it thinks it needs to do it 11,000 times a second. Ask me how I know that's a thing that's happened.
And also, just to follow up on, Keck said Windows 11 design is a breath of fresh air. 10 is kind of ugly. I entirely agree. I think 11 looks really pretty, and that's actually one of the reasons why I'd like to move to Windows 11, because it is fresh and new and looks nice. Windows 11 is a throw rug, but it's a really nice throw rug.
I preferred Windows 10. Was it a year ago they introduced the new icons?
Yeah, something like that.
Just before they introduced the new icons, because I don't actually like the new icons.
Oh, really?
I think they are harder to pass. Like folders no longer have stuff in them if they've got stuff in them in the picture. But before, they had stuff in them if they weren't an empty folder.
Interesting.
And the icon showed you what was in the folder. It showed you if it was a picture, it showed you if it was video, it showed you if it was audio, it showed you if it was a text file.
I think the new icons in Windows, the more recent icons in Windows 10 were a stopgap measure, because previously Windows 10, well, throughout most of its lifespan, Windows 10 has been aggressively flat design. It's been the absolute extreme example of flat design.
I mean, it could have gone further.
Yeah, but it's still pretty extreme already. And I have never liked that. I've always looked at Windows 10 and been like, so when are you guys going to finish this kind of thing? And so I liked the new icons because they refreshed it into something that looked so much more, I don't know what you call the new style of design, but so much more human. However, I agree they are less functional, but I think they threw that on there because they were like, oh my God, flat design is looking really dated now. It's out of fashion. Let's just slap some new icons on 10 just to refresh it slightly before 11 comes along, which will be the actual replacement. Because obviously by that time they knew that 11 was on the way, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. However, in other news, I'm just going to grab the bench cam so we can start taking this desoldering gun apart. Because as a couple of people, yes, as a couple of people have pointed out, we have had this rant about Windows 11 many times. It's been quite a while since we've done it, so whatever. I've enjoyed this conversation in English, but yeah, we shall move on. Right, I'm going to grab the bench cam. Check if there's anything in chat.
Is there anything in chat other than saying that I hate Windows 11? Is there anything in chat other than, oh my God, you've said this before? Oh, hello, Chris, by the way. Hello, Spud, by the way. I have you have been
You've
witnessed.
been perceived.
You have
yeah.
been witnessed. Witness me. Yes. I've been using Edge ever so slightly more on my computer at home, and I'm just like, yeah.
It's fine.
It's fine.
My only beef with Edge is that it's using Bing as the default search engine.
Oh, I thought you were going to say...
If I do a clean install of Windows on a computer, and I'm like, right, I want to use a different browser, so I open Edge and I type into Edge, which obviously is going to use Bing by default. I type in get Firefox, and the top hit is an advert for Opera, and I'm like, this is not what I asked for.
I'm also reasonably certain that Microsoft literally can't do anything about that, because there were new antitrust court cases about Bing recently.
Yeah.
Saying that basically saying things along the lines of it was giving people what they were looking for, not what big companies wanted to give people.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to say...
Like,
yeah. Now, there's probably a big story behind that is sucky and entirely not Microsoft's fault.
Yeah.
But the end result is I typed in Firefox and it gave me Opera. And I'm like, you are literally useless to me. That is not what I asked for.
But also, why are you binging for a web address?
Because I haven't memorized what the Firefox download website address is yet.
Control Enter.
I thought getfirefox.com didn't exist anymore. I can't remember. Because I'm trying to move across to Firefox now, because normally I've always been a Chrome boy. Oh yeah, that does work. Okay, yep, fine. All right. Yeah, I just hadn't tested it yet. However, I'm trying to change my habit to put Firefox on everything now instead, because Firefox is ethical. So, is Firefox ethical at the moment? Do we like Firefox? We do, don't we?
I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I care because it's the only independent rendering engine right now, as far as I'm aware.
That's the bit that's important.
Therefore, that's the reason why I use it, because it's the only not Chromium or Gecko WebKit. WebKit. Shh, I've forgotten what the words are. It's not the...
engine.
It's not Safari and Chromium stuff.
Yeah.
English. Words. That thing.
It's not Chromium is basically the operative here, whereas literally everything else has Chromium under the bonnet.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But yes. How are we going for this? Because I was about to read that as Nyan.
I was also seeing a Nyan in there, but anyway,
Yes.
Narayan76, thank you very much for the £10 and 10p, specifically, the 1010. More conversation in English, just don't set the dial to 11. Is that a case of...
We need to talk about Spinal Tap now.
Well, I'm just like, we're allowed to talk about Windows 11, but we have to be very calm about it. We have to be very relaxed and not passionate. You can't turn the dial up to 11. That's how I'm interpreting that.
You must speak in a slow and measured register.
And just take the time.
To ponder each word.
And about 5 people watching the VOD just set the speed to 2x now instead of 1.5, you know?
By the way, there are extensions you can get to set the playback speed to 3 or 4 times.
I don't understand people who can watch videos at that kind of speed. I can't absorb information that fast. I'm going to bring up the bench cam so we can start taking this stupid thing apart.
I am...
Firefox is a huge CPU power suck. Yeah. I mean, rise and go burr.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I've particularly noticed. The only issue I have noticed in Chrome and Firefox is that neither of them can decode YouTube videos on just the CPU without frame tearing or stuttering at 4K 60, playback at 2x. I'm just like, hello, I have a 5950X.
Yeah.
I have the CPU power. You can use all of the cores.
Logituners had a fart and I can't focus the camera.
You'll have to do it the old-fashioned way of just moving the camera up and down.
Well, actually, yeah. There we go.
It's very convenient that they're named different things.
Yes.
That you have the Brio and the Brio 4K stream.
Yes. I was actually quite grateful of that. That was actually something that concerned me when I bought a second Brio. I was like, this is going to be a nightmare because they're probably going to keep switching in the menu because they both have the same name.
Something I thought is, could you edit the name of the camera by taking the firmware chip off, modifying the firmware, and then flashing it back on there?
Probably, yeah. But
Because
also,
that would have then fixed that problem.
yeah, but also the firmware on this is probably going to be on its embedded microcontroller or something. So you'd need to be like MLG Pro. You'd need like dev kits so you could access the firmware on a microcontroller and hope that that microcontroller isn't a read program once type thing. Well, no, it's got firmware updates. Well, actually, I suppose you could download a firmware update, modify that, and then force a firmware update on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's gotten me to thinking now. That's gotten me to thinking. Yeah, do you want to bring the chat back up? But yeah, that's kind of interesting. I need a screwdriver.
What is the hot air station you've got? It's a quick 8 something.
857 DW plus.
857 DW
Yep,
plus.
quick 857 DW plus.
There we go.
Yeah,
That one.
It's the baby quick. It's the 600 watt one, whereas most people have the bigger one. That I can't remember the model number of, but the bigger one that's a 1000 watt one, which will have a lot more capability. However, certainly if you're starting out and you're trying not to spend too much money, the 857DW is like approximately $100 or so, and it's a lot of air station for the money, in my opinion. There's only like 1 or 2 other stations that are as good as and cost less. I think Aten have got an equivalent that I think is also 600 watts and a bit cheaper.
Discord.
I might be wrong.
Yes, I'm gonna find a message.
Yep. Right, while that happens, I'll leave the chat in your capable hands for a sec. So this is my Gougie, I don't know, my desoldering gun.
This is my Gougie.
Yeah, that's how I'm pronouncing it. Gaojie. Gougie. Anyway, so this one, the heating element has died. I plug it in, it does not heat up, is the problem. And I think the heating element has died because I've left it on overnight a couple of times because I've forgotten to unplug it, basically. And I think that's why the element has died. I have a new element that I bought from AliExpress for like £10 or something like that. So I'm going to take it apart and see if I can figure out how to put this in. So I'm going to start opening this up and see how we go. So I'm just going to take out all the screws in sight, I guess. Actually, I wonder if it just comes out the front. This might be a 10-minute job, if I'm honest. I don't know. It's a discovery video. Let's take the thing out and just knock all the solder out. Am I going to make a little solder pile on the desk?
Am I going to make a little mess?
Yes, is the answer to that. Oh, blimey, that needs cleaning. Also, I don't treat this thing right. I do not clean this thing as often as I should. So unsurprisingly, it's been having problems in its life. So I need to take better care of this. Otherwise, it'll keep breaking. But yeah. I'm going to start just by taking out these screws and just see what comes off. What do you... Are you looking for that Aten?
I don't understand how, for some reason, the Discord search doesn't seem to be able to search for users anymore.
It's got a mind of its own. I
Search
actually
from
had this
users
issue the other.
seems to be broken.
Yeah, I actually had this issue the other day where I was looking for a DM conversation with someone who I hadn't spoken to in like a year, and I could not find them in my Discord DM history. Then when I finally managed to find their user, someone else said this is their Discord username. So I searched a server that I knew they were in, could not find them. And then finally, what I had to do was that friend then said, okay, now look, here is a link to one of their messages in the server. So then I linked to that, and then I right-clicked on their name and clicked message, and it came up with the message history. And I'm like, I've had a conversation with this person, but I cannot search for them. Now, the reason was that they had themselves set to only accept DMs from friends, which seems to hide them from all searches for people that they are not specifically friends with.
But I've just searched for me on here.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And I'm pretty certain this account, I don't know which account this is friends with me.
That's my personal Discord.
Which therefore is friends with me, should be able to search me.
Yeah.
But it can't.
Are we actually friends on Discord?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because I was testing something the other day.
Yeah.
And went through because I wanted to see what it did. If you block someone and stuff. And I was like, oh, I know someone I will be easily able to explain why I blocked them, unblocked them, and friended them if they ever ask me. I will do this to Graham.
Very well.
So yes, because I wanted to see how Discord showed for different statuses.
Yeah.
And stuff. Because it was also about online status. If someone has you blocked, but you still share a server, your online status is still shared with them.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
And that's what I wanted to test.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a bit how you're doing, isn't it? Because if you have someone blocked, then you should just appear as offline to them.
Yeah. But I guess it's a case of then that shows that they've blocked you. Whereas their status just updating in the server list as normal, you would not be able to tell.
I suppose, yes.
And then you'd have to actively message them to find out.
Yeah, that might be the reasoning behind it.
So yeah.
Yeah, don't know.
Well. But yes, I cannot get the message searching to work.
Yeah. To be honest, in the amount of time this has taken, there's probably about 10 people in the chat that have been like, this is the model Atten you're looking for.
Probably, but I was also trying to find a specific message from ein Wildflorsterlamp. Because
Wildflower lamp, yes.
Because it had a list of a whole bunch of equipment that you recommended, and I forgot to pin it when I saw it.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And I was just like, that would have been the perfect message to have a look at now, because there's someone else's recommendations as well. But no. It also had a link to the Flux as well.
Yes,
However, that
I need
did
to
also
order
get
that
posted
Flux.
somewhere else.
Yep, I must order
Also,
that
apparently
Flux.
I now can't close the search. Broke it. Thank you. Very good. Okay. Whatever.
This is delightfully simple yet fascinating on the inside.
Oh, good. You did actually.
Yes. I did bring that up, so people have been able to see what I'm doing. There has been some entertainment on this stream, other than the Discord rant.
Other than the complete discourse, there has been this Discord. Or something.
Yes. Also, at a very brief look at the chat, I just saw someone going, the Atten thing is what you're looking for. Atten 862D, probably.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway. Right.
Urgent Oats. Question on hot air. Is there a meaningful difference between the performance of a 500 watt and a 1000 watt station? Have a 500 watt and have been on the fence about upgrading.
It depends what you need to do. Oh, sorry, were you
I was just going to say, as a layperson who doesn't use them, I understand that the difference is more in the design of the hot air station than the actual power. So if it's a blower in handle one at 500 watts or at 1000 watts value on the box, a 501 blower on desk with hose would be better than it.
Yeah. So there's two factors involved here. Is Yeah, you've got the two designs. You've got air pump in the base station with a hose to the handle, and then you've got the blower in handle where there's a tiny little fan in the handle providing the air. So the tiny little fan in the handle ones are all generally considered to be TAT. You can use them. You can use them in a pinch. I started out using a blower in handle one, and yes, I upgraded and I saw the difference. See I've got a video of hot air cheap versus good or something like that. Basically, my mini review of the quick station that I have, where I compared it to my WEP station, which was a blower and handle one. And the WEP proves that you can use the blower and handle ones. They work. They are entirely functional.
Yeah.
But the difference is when you start getting to the higher end repairs, specifically, the difference starts coming in when you start working on big parts. So larger chips and BGA especially. The blower and handle ones just cannot put the heat down to shift BGA stuff. That's where it really starts mattering. Then in terms of a 500 or 600 watt air pump station like my Quick versus say the 1000 watt Quick, my understanding is that the difference there is that my Quick so far can do more or less everything I've asked it to with a few exceptions, but I often have to have the airflow set to maximum to get the heat down onto the board. Whereas if you've got 1000 watts of heating capacity, you can deliver all of that heat at much lower airflow rates, which gives you significantly more control when you're working on really small stuff like tiny resistors and capacitors. When I'm working on small resistors and capacitors, you often need a lot of heat because you're trying to get heat into a very small space, but you have to have the airflow turned down, otherwise you blow everything away. Whereas obviously the 1000 watt station can put down lots and lots of heat at very, very low airflows, which gives you a very, very high amount of control. So that, based on my learning experience, is the difference there. But ultimately, what I've discovered is you generally tend to figure out when you're at the limitations of your equipment because what you're trying to do just isn't working. You know it's supposed to work, but it doesn't work. Like yesterday, I was trying to reflow a VRAM chip with my hot air, and it couldn't do it. Now, granted, preheating the board would have made it much easier, but the amount of time I spent on it, I'm like, preheat or no preheat, it should have reflowed. And I'm like, if I had 1000 watt Quick, that probably would have flowed. But because I was stuck at 600 watts, I couldn't get enough heat into the board. Whereas the 1000 watt probably would have brute forced it. So at that point, I was like, this is the limits of my station. But reflowing VRAM chips is a new thing that I have not needed to do before and is not a common thing that I would be doing. So I was like, this isn't a problem. This doesn't mean my station is worthless. I'm just starting to go outside of what it is designed to be capable of.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, the common stuff I'm doing, just small SMD parts, BIOS chips and stuff like that, it's no problem with.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my best response to it. We've got a load of people who've got a load of experience as well. So other people are probably chiming in with stuff as well.
Yeah, people just saying like the Atin 862D.
Yeah.
I think it was. And
Yeah.
just bits like that saying, yeah.
Yeah. So just
I managed to find the message and I posted a link to it in the references channel.
Oh, very cool. Yep. Groovy. Right, so before we get on to another conversation, I'll just update on where we're up to with this thing. So I've just taken the cover off this thing. This is super cool. It's delightfully simple. It's got a big electric motor in it, and it's got this tiny little pump on it. And as you can see, it's just got a, whatever you call that kind of gearing, that is just turning the rotation into a piston up and down. And that's how the pump works. And so that's sucking in. I don't know where it's blowing out. I think it's just blowing out of that hole there, maybe. But yeah, that's it. That's the extent of it. That's kind of cool. So now I guess I can pull this out somehow. Because unless I just undo that and then it will pull out.
Does the bench, hold on, if I swap to the bench cam. There we go.
Yeah, that gives us big bench cam.
There we go.
Yep.
I was just half expecting to click on it and it just go to a black screen.
Yeah.
As half the inputs were missing.
Got another screw there. So yes, this is actually a very simple thing to do. Is that going to come out now? Yeah, there we go.
Oh.
I am going to need to solder this in place, though. That's the tricky bit. Actually getting the element in and out is very easy, but I'll need to solder the wires on, so that'll make this a bit more involved.
And what do you... And you're replacing all of that, effectively.
Yeah, so there's the replacement element. So basically the entire tip, except for the nozzle, the entire tip is replaced as a single piece.
Also a case of look at that colour change.
Yeah, big time. I mean, the first time we turn that one on, it's just going to go, it'll turn bronze and smoke. Because that's what brand new soldering iron tips do. The first time you turn them on, they're lovely and shiny, and they immediately tarnish as the heat hits them. And you're like, oh well. However, it doesn't really matter, I guess. Okay, right. Will that come off now? There we go. That's partially melted in place. Okay, there we go. So that's free. So now I just need to desolder these connections here. Shall I take that board out? I probably should.
You know, what was the comment about not being lazy?
Yes.
In your video.
Yep. Getting this out without taking the board out would be easy because I could just reflow that and just pull the wires. But I'll need to take this board out to thread the new wires in anyway. So.
Yes. Also, just kind of a comment of this is easy. Sounds dangerous. It'll only take us 30 minutes.
Part of me once said, well, I guess it's fine. I don't like the trigger on this gun. It's a very short throw. So like you lightly touch it and it goes brrr in your hand. You're like, oh. The amount of times I pick this up off of the handle, accidentally squeeze the trigger, and it goes off in my hand, and I go, oh. Like every other time I use it, I make myself jump with this thing, you know, because it's noisy. It goes brrr, you know. And I feel very foolish, and I'm glad that no one is watching when it happens.
Now you can desolder the desoldering gun from its wires.
Indeed.
I heard you like desoldering.
Oh my god, am I going to have to take the bloody flex out as well?
Full stripping.
Yeah.
Damn it, Chris.
What's he doing now? You are beneath my mention. You will be boiled. Right, why is this not coming up? This feels like there's another screw holding it in.
Is it because there's another screw holding it in?
No, it's just... Oh, I know what's holding me up. It's the temperature gauge. I think this just needs to pull off.
And if it doesn't just need to pull off...
All right.
Very well.
Right. What is that chip? Is that just going to be a 555? No, it's not. I didn't think so. Yeah, okay. Cool. So power comes in. It looks like there's some adjustment trimmers there. That's probably for calibration to get the temperature gauge correct, minimum and maximum. And the most part of it is just simply driving a MOSFET that is just switching the element on and off at high speed. I mean, it does have a temperature monitor, so maybe it is checking the temperature monitor status to maintain. Don't know. I'm not going to reverse engineer this.
This very much does look just like a massive mouse button. Yeah,
it does, doesn't it? It is just a big micro switch. So yeah.
Just replace it with a KO red.
just for that really good trigger feel. Right, I'm gonna
feel my excellent clicky action. Clunk, clunk.
Right. Where is one of them and one of them?
Sleepwalker asks, in your recent video with the compact, did you advise your customer that they should upgrade the thing?
Yes, there were loads of people in the comments going, "Oh, did you upsell them an SSD? Did you sell them to get an SSD?" and so on. I did not. I told them to get a new computer because, I mean, that thing would have responded well to an SSD, but also it's a case of, man, this thing is a biscuit tin. Don't spend money on this. It was very much a case of...
yeah, the desktop.
Yeah, it was a compact desktop, yeah.
I was trying to remember what it actually was in the video.
Because likewise, there are a lot of people that are just like, man, why did you bother spending time on this? Why didn't you just junk it kind of thing? And it's just like, well, and again, I mentioned this in a comment, but obviously you never know which comments get buried and which don't. But first of all, the computer was used for business accounts and business operations. And so the priority was to get them back to work as fast as possible. And it was faster to fix their computer than to replace it. So therefore, we're fixing the computer. However, it was also a matter of this thing is a complete upgrade dead end, and it's just generally a crap computer anyway. Yeah. And it's got a 2nd gen Pentium in it. So no, we're not going to, because if we put an SSD in it, like I'm not going to fit anything less than a 500 gig MX500 kind of thing. Yeah. Because I don't fit crap parts. Because otherwise the next person who sees it might open it up, see that part and be like, oh, that's Adamant IT fitting quality components I see, kind of thing. Yeah. I don't fit crap parts. That's the rule. Yeah. So I'm going to put a 500 gig MX500 in there. That's going to be 50 quid for
maybe a BX500.
Yeah, if I'm going to cheap out, you know. Yeah. So it's going to be, okay, so it's going to be 40 or 50 quid for an SSD, plus my £50 flat fee to fix the thing. So now we're spending 90 quid on this thing, and they should just buy a new computer. So it was better just to get the thing working so they can work. And then I said to them, this now works, you should replace this as soon as it is convenient to do so. So like go back to work, do your accounts, send emails, and then immediately start shopping for a new computer. Or come and talk to me about that. Yeah. And that is what they intend to do, basically. So, yeah.
Chris says, open up a PC to see an M80X OEM Intel branded Sandy Bridge motherboard and be like, oh, there's Chris of Venuscourt back at it again.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of our friends was looking at a Venuscourt recently in the exclusive chat, and we saw the brand and we were like, no! So...
Oh no.
And it was crap and had died. And, oh man, I want to do a call out video, but it's unnecessary.
On my tumblr.com.
On my twitter.com, you fool. Being a scorper, a bitch ass motherfucker. Anyway, so I'm desoldering these wires.
Yes, absolutely.
And just for party tricks, just to save me the trouble of bringing over a power supply, I've just got a LiPo battery and an XT60 to power my soldering iron. Party tricks of electronic soldering irons, people.
What is that? Is that a 5-cell?
It's a 4-cell.
4-cell.
Yep. So this is running at like 30 watts or something like that, but just to touch up some joints, it's all you need.
Does it... English. Is the soldering iron current limited? Then. Also, is that hot?
Yes. Just showered hot solder all over myself. Anyway, I don't know. I think it internally current limits based on the input voltage, which is a shame because obviously it doesn't have to. You know, if the iron could just say, "Cool, I'm going to pull 6 amps," because I could just tell it I have a hobby LiPo connected that is. This is a 40C LiPo. Yes, you can pull 10 amps on this thing, you know, but I don't think the internal components of the iron can handle the amperage, which is why it's current limited. Yeah. It can do the higher voltages, but it can't handle high currents. So it does higher voltage, lower current instead. Right.
Yes, yes. 592 is what that battery says it can do.
Watts?
Amps.
Amps. Yeah, sure. Not sure I'd want to. I mean, I said before in a video about them, I'm just like, you know, this thing will probably start a car once, but it would do it, you know.
Would it? Oh, yeah, it's 14 volts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
14 volts, 100 amps.
Oh, yeah, no, it was the fact I was about to say, isn't it too low voltage, but then I forgot what voltage it was.
Yeah, 14.8 nominal. It'll do 100 amps. You'll start a car engine on that.
Yeah, absolutely. The
biggest that's mind-blowing that will start a car engine.
The biggest problem will be getting large enough connections out of the battery.
Yeah, pretty much. But also that's why, for people who've seen these before, it won't be very interesting. But lipo car jumper packs, like the ones that are about that big, with some jumper leads coming off of them, are brilliant. If you own an older car, where like if you carry a set of jumper leads with you, throw them out and get one of those lipo jump starters. I have one for my car. They're amazing. It's just
Don't they also only last like 2 starts?
No, I've done
Because
during
they like weld themselves into a puddle.
not necessarily. The one I've got,
okay.
it cost me about £80.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I don't have a super cheap one. It cost me about £80. It's allegedly 20 amp hours.
Oh, okay.
And during the start of the pandemic, the battery in my car died because it wasn't getting started very often.
Yeah.
And it took me about 6 months to get around to getting a new battery. And during the course
Oh, I see.
in the summer of 2020, I was just driving my car into the shop because I was being lazy because I could just leave it in the car park because the car park was empty. Man, summer 2020 was weird, as you all know. But anyway, so I was using that jump starter twice a day for about 2 months. Solid, twice a day for 2 months. Cold jump starting my car. Still going strong. That thing is a trooper. They're brilliant. Absolutely
I just
brilliant.
love the fact that apparently that was the lower hassle option for you.
Yes, it was. It was.
Instead of spending 30 seconds going eBay
Cider.
battery order done.
Your face. Shush. Shut. However, can you please switch back to the main cam? Because there is a very monumentous thing about to happen.
No!
That's not the main cam. That's not the main cam. There we go. Right, okay. Behold, everyone, I found the bottle opener again. If I can... How... I can't... Because it's supposed to be attached to a wall, I can't figure out what the orientation of it. Okay, there we go. Ha-ha! Now you try it. I'm glad you enjoyed that.
That was indeed something.
Great success.
Absolutely.
See, you're doing the same thing.
What?
You put it on wrong as well.
Yeah, because I was also not sure how I was going to hold it.
Yeah. See, now you're not laughing.
I am laughing because it was funny, not because I said at any point I could do better.
Anyway, the bottle opener was found. It was in a sensible place where I would be able to find it easily.
Was it mounted on the desk?
No. Although we should mount it on this desk because we actually have a designated podcast table now. But yeah.
Or just...
For now, it just lives up there, yeah. That works surprisingly well, actually. We could just put it there, couldn't we? Yeah, all right.
I thought that's how you had it mounted.
Kind of, just not quite that neatly. Bring up chat again. We should keep an eye on chat.
Maybe, possibly. You never know. Yes, let's quickly back screen.
You're on chat duty.
Roll scroll or something. English. There's actually a way to start a car with a 9-volt battery. What? What? I mean, probably, but how?
I was going to say, I'd be curious to see the method for that. You try and pull 100 amps out of a 9-volt battery, it's just going to explode, surely. Well, no, it just wouldn't be able to deliver the amps. If you put it in a dead short circuit, it just won't deliver it. It's like a button cell. If you short out a CR2032 in a dead short circuit, it's only going to pull like maybe 300 milliamps. It just doesn't have the capacity for it. Also, I didn't pay attention to any of the layout of this. Might actually have to bring up our own VOD while we're still live and get a screen cap of the wire layout because I completely forgot to screen cap any of the wire positions. All right, I'm going to read the chat while you back scroll and find out. That's all right. I'm going to back read the chat while you find out what way the wires go round because I done goofed.
Oh, no, you've already removed them.
I'll put that like that. It goes through there. There we go. Right, let's see. I'm gonna scroll to the bottom of the chat and read from the top. Sorry, everyone. You need to stop drinking when you can't get it open. We broke Caradoge.
There we go.
Ah, very good. Can you screen cap that?
Yes, I can.
And then could you share that in the Discord? Because then I can bring it up on the laptop screen.
No!
Ugh. You can plug it into a cigarette lighter for a minute and it boosts a dead battery. Yeah. Oh, I guess that's cheating. If you've got a stone dead battery. I mean, if your battery is low, I guess that would work. But if you actually have a dead battery, I don't think that's going to fly. I have a suspicion that's going to be one of those things where if I looked up the video on how to do that, I'd be like, oh, yeah, bull spit. That's not starting it from a 9-volt battery. I guess it gives it a tiny bit of help.
Interesting.
You want to try the capacitor jumpers. I see those look really cool, but I feel like a LiPo battery completely supersedes a capacitor jumper. Colors look different. Yeah, we've got a red and a green instead of a blue and a green, but I'm guessing the blue and the green are common together. In fact, we could do a little bit of research in a minute here and just check that. I'm guessing the white is the heating element and the red and blues are probably the thermal sensor.
My phone is now syncing 4 billion messages.
Oh no.
It will at some point finish uploading an image as well.
Right. Do I need to thread any of these? I don't. I can just go around to there. That's fine. That's kind of interesting that the ground on this, none of the actual electronics nor the motor is grounded. It's just the tip.
That's the only bit you can touch, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that. And also that's the only bit where the static actually matters. So yeah, it's just sort of kind of interesting. I was like, yeah, I guess that's all you need to ground. Opposite the colors of the sensors. Yes, that's what I was aiming for. If I said anything different, the white is the element and the colors are the thermal sensor is what I was aiming for. Move overheat to right side, overheat live to right. Oh, there's overheat and thermal sensor maybe, yeah. Cool.
What?
What?
Pressing Alt lit up your keyboard, but pressing the other keys didn't.
Don't know. Oh well. Hello from Canada. You've inspired me to start repairing computers again. I work for an ambulance service by my day job, but I'm trying to move toward getting a storefront for PC repair. That's rad, William Maynard. That's super cool. Good luck on your endeavors. I hope that goes well, man. That's really cool. Okay. I really love when I hear about people who got inspired by stuff. In fact, I'm going to grab it and show it off now because I don't know when it's going to appear in a video. Let me just, I'm going to grab a thing that someone sent in so I can do a shout out.
Upload failed. Explicit content cannot be sent.
Oh no.
Apparently the screenshot of your hand is explicit.
My hand grasping my tool firmly is explicit. Very well.
Can I send you explicit DMs? Let's find out.
So, this is my, I'll take it out of the box super quick. Right, so this is my CH341A mini programmer. Let's go to the big screen.
I can.
There we go. This is my CH341A programmer. This is the version 1.6, so this is the one with the voltage switch on it. And I got a letter, which I shall read out because he said it was okay to do so. Got a letter from Andrew, who said he actually called me up before he sent it in, and we had a conversation where he said how I had inspired him to take his repair work to the next level. He already had a repair shop, and I'd inspired him to start doing BIOS stuff and things like that. And he said, really wanted to say thanks for the videos you produce. They've been invaluable. As discussed, I'm into 3D printing, and when I saw the comment on the video, I thought I would do something to show my appreciation. The version of the program I had is 1.7, but it probably still works. So basically, he's 3D printed this enclosure for a CH341A programmer. He has a 1.7. I've got the 1.6 because I think the 1.7 came out like a day after I bought this one, but they seem to be functionally identical. So that goes in there, and then this slides along the bottom there. And because one of the things I said about this is because it plugs into the side of your laptop, it's not very convenient for desktop use when you've got a tower. But he 3D printed this box and sent a USB extension lead. So then you've got a USB extension lead that goes from there to the back of your computer. And so now we've got a little desktop box for it to sit in, and there's a little compartment here where you can keep all your little adapters and stuff like that. And that just slides over like so. And it showed up, and he put the Adamant IT lettering on it. So, oh, that goes either way around. I think that's supposed to go that way around. There we go. It's got Adamant IT written on it and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's cool, man. That's really cool. So yeah, big shout out to Andrew, who does also have a YouTube channel. It doesn't have a vanity URL on it though, so I can't tell you what it is. However, I will, if I remember, I'll stick it in the description of this after we finish. If not, at some point this will appear in a mainline video at some point, and it'll get linked and shouted out there as well. But yeah, this is a thing that someone sent in, and I thought it was super cool. And it was another example of just when people like Andrew and people like William, they send me a message saying you inspired me to fix stuff. That makes me incredibly happy. That's exactly what I want. That's exactly the goal of the videos. It's not about being the best. It's about saying to people, look, this is a thing that you could do. And when people say, I went and did the thing, that's mission accomplished for me. That's the best thing in the world. So yeah. William says, I've got an RT809F. Yeah, that's the one that I use on my bench most of the time as well. So yeah. And you fix a few bricked mainboards. That's awesome. That's super cool. Very cool. Maybe print the voltages on the back of the switch. Yes, that's actually... I should get a label printer and put a couple of extra labels because, yeah, I can't remember this off the top of my head. Thankfully, it's not particularly difficult to take it out and just be like, oh, what's the voltage selection again? But it would be good to have this voltage selector somewhere on the back. But future upgrades for a future version. But yeah, I just thought I'd show this off while the opportunity was there because it's really cool. And just, yeah, Andrew called me up and he said, I'm sending you this because it seems like something that would be useful. And I'm like, cool. Thanks, my dude. Much appreciated. So yeah, that's the story. That was my story in English.
Congratulations. Yes, I like that.
So yeah.
I also just like the thing with just making little boxes and stuff.
Yeah, I want...
And being able to have like cutouts
Yeah.
that are the precise size you want without having to take a block and then remove material.
I really want to get a 3D printer and start getting into 3D printing. It's just, yeah, at some point, you know. Right, let's just get this up on screen. So when looking at the front of the... Yeah, so we're looking at the back of the board. We've got a blue and a red in the top right. So the whites go on those. Then we've got blue on the left, then red. So I'm going to go red to red and green to blue. Is going to be my guess.
Yeah.
I wonder if I could measure any of this to get some readings. I'm just going to grab the multimeter and just buzz out these wires and see if we see anything interesting on that.
So what would you expect to see? Would you expect to see low resistance on one pair?
Yeah, basically I'm just going to look at what the resistances are, because also, for example, if I check the resistance of the heating element, it'll be interesting to see what we get there. So on the brand new one, it's 500 ohms resistance on the heating element, and on the dead one, we're probably going to find that it's open. It's probably just burnt out. Oh no, it hasn't burnt out, but look, it's up in the it's like 300 kilo ohms. That might even be skin resistance because I've got my fingers on there. Let's see if I can, oh yeah, there we go, that was skin resistance. But yeah, it's actually open line. So the heating element on the old one has actually burnt out and is just open line. So that proves that this is dead. So now these ones, is there any resistance between the wires? I don't know what I'm looking for here, if I'm honest. I'm just
Looking.
Just looking, yeah. And that's what it's about, it's just looking. Okay, there's 2 ohms between the red and the blue. And that is probably temperature sensitive. I wonder if I can heat that up. I don't have the hot air to hand. This is too big of metal to be able to heat. We could try and, I'm not going to try and pull that apart. I wonder if I just blow into it. Shut up. I'm just going into the mic at the moment, aren't I? Okay, we'd probably find that this resistance will change according to the temperature. So yeah, that's the thing. However, also, this also suggests to me that this is not polarized. If we go the other way around, it's still 2 ohms. So I don't think it actually matters which way around these wires go. The soldering iron won't have enough. This is a lot of thermal mass here. The soldering iron won't be able to heat that up.
I guess the thing to double check is just to double check that the new one isn't polarized.
Yeah, I guess. So let's
So it doesn't specifically
those
matter
as
what
well.
the old one was.
Yeah. There you go, about 2 ohms as well, ish, depending on that. This will go up and down with the temperature. If we were to heat this up, we'd probably see that go up or down. I'm guessing it would go up. This is because with thermistors, you have a positive or a negative temperature coefficient, which means the resistance on some thermistors or temperature sensors, the resistance increases with the temperature, and on some of them, it decreases with temperature. Given that this resistance is so low right now, my guess is that this is a positive temperature coefficient, which means once this thing heats up, this resistance will probably go very high. And like 2 ohms is very low, but this thing is expected to run at up to, this thing is probably expected to measure up to 500 degrees centigrade.
Yeah.
So obviously it needs a lot of headroom there. So yeah. We might be able to turn it on. I might be brave and try and measure that while it's turned on so we can see that in action. That would be kind of interesting. Like I'll have to measure this while there's exposed 240 volt AC there, so we'll have to be very hands off. But we could do that.
Well, you could just solder the wires and leave it as it is.
What leave the put the heating element on.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it'll run without. Well, let's find out. Will it run while the thermistor is not connected?
Yeah.
That might be interesting. So yeah.
So will it heat up without you pressing the trigger?
Yeah. Yes, it will. Yes. Yep. All right. Okay. Right. Let's see. Right. Yes, the heating element is plain white. Correct. Right. Let's thread these through. Can I just put this over? Yeah, I'll fix all of that. It's fine.
No.
All right. I'm going to see if I can do this without having clear holes. This is going to be kind of awkward to show. Actually,
Yeah, the white was in the middle.
Yeah, I've got. Let's get this out of the way a sec.
Be gone.
I have my my mini vise here, so I'm going to try and vise this up, so I can be not jank.
I have the power.
There might be a way of setting this up. Give me a moment, everyone, while I figure this out.
Once I work out precisely what I'm actually trying to do.
This will probably be a 10-minute job. You can make a religion out of this. Wait, don't. That's going to work.
I don't know.
Have you seen Bill Wirt's History of the World?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't know how that's relevant to our current situation.
I'm just sort of, I'm commenting on the fact that I'll be like, this is probably a 10-minute job kind of thing. Then it isn't.
Oh. Yes. This will only take half an hour.
Yeah. Right. Some helping hands would be very useful, but every time I have helping hands, I don't use them. So this is how we're doing it. There we go. Right, now that is being held, I can put this in.
I thought you were going to say every time I have helping hands, they aren't helpful.
Yes.
Oh. Chris saying, you can make a religion out of this. What did I just walk into? I wonder if you can... Yes, I wonder how well that would go down if you just put that on merch.
What, this will only take 10 minutes or this will only take 30 minutes?
No, you can make a religion out of this.
Oh, I see, yeah.
I don't know if it's individually recognisable enough.
Yeah, I
be any
wouldn't
sort
because
of-
it's not my joke, but yeah. Finding the hole. There's the hole.
Congratulations, you got it in the hole.
There we go. That's the only problem with running this on a low voltage power source like a battery. It takes ages to heat up. Like it takes an entire 60 seconds instead of 10.
It takes an entire 60 seconds instead of a minute.
God, I remember when I used to use the old Starlines where you just plug it in, where it's just got an AC cord coming out the end, and it takes it like 10 minutes to get up to temperature. Nightmarish. Right, I'm gonna get some snips.
More equipment.
Yeah, we're getting into a habit where I spend half of the podcast bringing tools over to this bench, and then on Tuesday morning, I have to spend half of the morning bringing all the tools back over to the workbench. There we go.
If only there was some sort of solution to this.
Oh, that's the wrong thing to undo. There you go. Okay, right. So let's put that in place, and I'll put on the grounding screw as well. And theoretically, we could probably just turn this on.
In theory. A game theory.
Anything exciting happening in chat?
I'm not sure what an SVOD is. However, there was mention of SVODs being overrated.
I don't know what SVOD is either, I'm afraid.
No.
If you want our opinion on SVODs, you'll need to explain what that is.
Also, someone asked you what programmer you used for Super IOs.
I have not done... so the Super I/O, I have not done any reprogramming of Super IOs or ECs. Is this Super IO and EC the same? Yeah, I have not done EC programming yet. It is on my list of things to learn. So yeah, I don't have a solution to that yet. I need to talk to a Wild Floor Lamp and say, my dude, I want to learn to program ECs. What do I need to buy? And there's one that he's mentioned before that I think he uses, and he says, get this, and that will be the answer. Whatever Wild Floor Lamp tells you to buy, that's what you should buy. Basically, a Wild Floor Lamp is one of the highest rated gurus I have encountered so far.
I'm just going to see if there's a mention.
He's up there with the best of the best as far as I'm concerned. And thus far, like there are some people where you talk to them and there are some bits where you take as gospel, and there are some bits where you're just like, okay, sure, whatever you say. However, there's certainly a couple of folks like Lead Farmer, like Wild Floor Lamp, where just whatever they say, that is gospel, that is truth. Oh, that goes on the end there, that's fine. Same with Pianov, when every now and then when he shows up. Pianov also, these are the people who are writing the manuals on all of this stuff. They're writing the wikis. Cool. Right. As much of a terrible idea as it is, I'm going to plug it in and we'll monitor and see what the temperature gauge does.
What is the secure screwdriver that you use? Does it actually have a model number, or is it just an electric screwdriver?
It does. It is the secure SQES126. SQES126.
Okay.
I need to start making a spreadsheet of my tools. I keep meaning to, because lots of people have asked for a tool video, and I cannot possibly make a video about all the tools I use without first making a spreadsheet of all the tools I use. So
Make sure you have affiliate links.
Well, yes, because people will say, where can I buy these and do you have affiliate links? Because people will want to say, please give me your affiliate links. So I want to be able to supply them. But also just because it means that when I make that video, I can go through the tools in some kind of coherent order. Because also I don't think it would be a single video, or if it will probably be a very long video and it would need to be chaptered. I'd need to have a section where I'm saying screwdrivers, programmers, other screwdrivers that I use, other miscellaneous tools that I use, pliers.
It feels like one of those videos where you make one long video with chapters in, and then you cut out all of those sections and release them as individual videos.
God, no, yeah. Gotta get that YouTube revenue, boys.
And
Yeah.
each time it's an increasingly clickbait title. You won't believe what Adamant IT has on his bench.
These screwdrivers were garbage. Is it pouring with rain? Yeah, it is. I'm going to pull the back door closed because it's pouring with rain outside and the rain will be coming in through the kitchen. BRB.
And the rain will be coming in the door.
Yes.
Because it's actually raining that hard. Yes.
Be gone, rain.
Be gone, rain. Yes. I mean, given how hot it was and sunny it was, be gone, rain.
Where was I? Yes. Okay. Right. Don't do this at home, kids, because this is exposed 240 volt. So we've arranged this so I don't need to touch anything. I actually think it's not going to do anything while those temperature sensors aren't connected.
That is the plan.
Yeah, but also it will actually be kind of interesting to see if it has no fail-safe and it actually heats while it cannot detect its own temperature.
Yeah.
That kind of says a thing or two about how much safety is built into these products. Because this is a cheap Chinese tool as far as I'm concerned.
You're a cheap Chinese tool.
All right. Let me see.
I'll have you know, I'm a cheap British tool.
Right, how's that? I'm just going to get another extension lead so I can plug this into a socket that I can very quickly pull out.
Understandable.
Yeah. Like, if we're going to do stupid stuff, let's do stupid stuff safely.
Let's make it slightly less stupid, possibly. Yes. But no, the consensus seems to be reasonably okay, fine. Reasonably positive on a making of the tools video again.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Ugh. There we go. All right. Here goes nothing.
Also, down.
Bam.
Or not. Is there a
The
green
heating
light?
light is not on. It is not heating.
Interesting. I do not suggest poking things.
Yeah, it is not heating. So my guess is it's just not heating because it's not detecting the thermistor and it's going, no, I cannot detect. So now we'll plug that in. I mean, it's quite possible it's just dead and doesn't work. We have to consider that possibility.
The possibility that it's actually just dead.
Yep. However, if we now solder these wires in and it does work, then that confirms that it does actually have a built-in safety override, which is very good. Well, that means that it meets some kind of basic safety, I guess, doesn't it? It's
the SSS, as someone said, Safe Systems of Stupidity.
Yes. Right, it was blue on the far left, so let's put the red in.
I believe so.
Right. So the third time, yes, it is unplugged. Have we got any bypass caps on here? No, good. So there's nothing that's going to give me a belt if I touch it, basically. You've got to watch out for that. It is unplugged. However, just because you've unplugged a device doesn't mean that the board cannot still give you a zap. Ask me how I know. So...
that
cool.
one-time machine, that one time.
Yes. I got a belt off of an iMac recently, actually, as well. But then I'd actually left that plugged in, and I was being dumb, and it was plugged in but turned off, and I brushed the power supply and went, "Ow!" And I was like, okay, let's unplug that kind of thing. So yeah, don't be that guy. Make sure it's unplugged. Don't be me.
Yeah, no thanks. Sorry, normal for it to wobble? I have that one and it wobbles. 1 second, someone's saying about things from Banggood that wobble. And I'm intrigued by the context.
I'd imagine you can buy a lot of wobbling things on Banggood.
My recommendations from AliExpress make so little sense.
Not surprising. AliExpress recommends whatever's got a high profit margin on it.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I get recommended lots of like micro switches and stuff
Oh,
for
okay.
mice, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And then it'll be a £6,000 silicon plug-in warming device.
Yes. What kind of device, Caradog?
And it's just like, AliExpress, no. Do not need. No.
Right. Yes, I could safely probe this.
Talking about the secure electric screwdriver
yeah.
having a wobble. I would not say that should happen.
No.
It should not wobble.
No, I would not expect that. I would class that. I don't know what the warranty is going to be like. However, on a $100 electric screwdriver, I would not consider the wobble to be acceptable. Let me just grab two that I've got on the bench right
yours. How much does yours do a wobble?
now. So here's my Secure, and it does not do a wobble. The shaft is, as you can see, there's no wobble on that at all.
The shaft is very firm and secure.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, at some point recently, someone recommended this Aromax one. I think this is fairly new, this design, and it also has the OLED screen on it, and it has adjustable torque and stuff like that. And I was like, I think this was $45, $50, something like that. And I was like, I'm going to buy that because it's half the price of the Secure, and it has effectively the same feature set. Let's see what the difference is. And the short answer is it's okay, it's just slow. It's slow and it's loud, basically.
I was going to say, it sounds really fast because of how wee.
Yeah, it goes wee, but it's slow and it's noisy compared to the Secure. So it's very much a case of, and it needs charging up. But yeah, it's very much a matter of, I used it and I wasn't super impressed. However, it's half the price of the Secure. But I wanted to buy it because I wanted to find out if this thing was obnoxiously expensive because it was made out of stainless steel or because it's just got a good gearbox in it. And the answer to that is it's got a good gearbox in it.
Yeah.
However, again, this is $100. That's a lot for an electric screwdriver.
Yeah.
So the thing is the way that when people say, "Oh, what do you think of the Secure screwdriver? Do you still use it?" What I want to say to people is, yes, I do like it, and I do still use it because it's still the best electric screwdriver I've ever used, and I have tried a couple of them now. Yeah. I do every now and then buy a different one so I can compare and see, is the Secure actually still good? And the answer to that is yes, I do think the Secure is good. It is expensive, but if you want a good electric screwdriver, that's what this one is. So, but by that argument, if you've got one and your shaft is a wobbling, then I would certainly be asking questions about that. And I don't know if Secure will do anything about that, if I'm honest. I don't know if that's enough for a warranty return. Yeah. However, I would not consider that acceptable on an electric screwdriver that cost $100.
No, exactly.
I would expect that from one that cost $40. I'd say, it's a cheap one. What did you think? Yeah. You know, I would expect that on the Wow Stick that cost $20.
Yeah.
You know, I would expect that on the YZH that was $30 and we brutalized and broke. However, I used it to destruction, and granted, it was a trooper, but it did eventually break.
Yeah.
However, the Secure, this guy is $100, and this one has not put a foot wrong yet.
Yeah.
You know,
the only problem is it seemed to have less torque.
I I agree with that, but on the flip
Because the
side,
YZH could do tapping case fans,
yes.
whereas that definitely cannot.
But on the flip side, we destroyed the YZH doing case
Oh
fan
yeah,
screws.
absolutely. But a
Well,
case
so
of that won't
yeah.
be destroyed because it can't torque itself
Exactly.
to a point where it can be destroyed.
I actually appreciate the fact that it does not allow you to over torque it, because that means that it's not going to break. It will actually switch off if you're doing stupid stuff with it.
Also, your microphone is funny angled, so you're now muffled. There we go.
Thanks, folks.
Also, hello, Pianov.
Oh, hello, Pianov. Speak of the devil and he may appear. I was saying how you're a cool dude and you're very good.
Do we need to get a mirror and go, Pianov, Pianov, Pianov?
Yeah. Yeah. Suffice. I was saying earlier on to folks how there are a few people in the community who I want to make sure that people know listen to what this person says, because they know what they're talking about. And I mentioned how you are one of those people. So yeah, yeah, thumbs up. We're fixing a desoldering gun.
Imagine my surprise when I went on OnlyFans to buy some RGB fans.
Right, Caradog, I need you to do. I need you to operate the socket for me.
I am able to socket.
Right. Okay. So the socket is off. So we want to see the thermal sensor do its thing, because that's interesting, I guess. So I'm now going to probe this. Are we in shot? We are.
You are very much in shot.
There we go.
Yes.
Right. And I'm going to probe this with my hands firmly away from the board. This is tricky. There we go. Right. So when Caradog switches it on, we should see this resistance go up as the thermal couple heats up. So let me line it up. Let me see if I can get into a comfortable position where I'm not going to slip. All right, there we go. Do the thing. On. Ah, fuck.
Do not.
Oh, I can't hold it in this position. That's frustrating. Oh, that's gone short. Is it heating? It is heating. However, the thermocouple has gone down to 0. I don't know what that means. I'm going to stop touching it now because I can't reliably hold it, and
I have
there's
turned it off.
exposed
The
mains
resistance
there.
will be the same-ish now.
Yeah, it'll have to cool down again now. Yeah, it's still sitting on 0.
Yeah.
So we'd have to wait for that to cool down.
No,
'cause
but
that's,
it's a case of it's turned off, so you
yeah.
can probe it.
Oh yes, yes, I understand. Yeah, that's all burning hot now. So it now
Is there
works
a
again.
voltage across it, as someone says?
Yeah, maybe there's a voltage over it. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there is a voltage. Okay, I mean, we could measure the voltage. Where does that connect to? So the green comes down the side of the board here to this common at the bottom, which connects back to neutral. So that's the ground.
Wow.
Ground. Yeah. Let's see.
They're all spicy pins, Brent.
Yeah, they are all spicy pins. So I'm just like, I don't know if I want to try and probe this, because I haven't got it in any kind of sensible manner at the moment. All right, that's fairly okay. Let's try that. All right, give it another hit. On. No, nothing. Off. Yeah. No, there was no voltage there. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead and finish reassembling.
I'm going to
this
quit
now.
whilst I'm still alive.
Yes, I'm going to quit while I haven't shocked myself on stream, because this is dumb. I don't know what I'm doing, and we're not learning anything more, and there is 240 VAC here. So let's not mess around with that. Could you just unplug that extension lead? Even though even though it is switched off at the wall, we will unplug it from the wall. So there is absolutely no question that this is not powered up.
Absolutely.
There we go. All right, I'm going to carry on reassembling this. What's occurring in the chat?
Looking to Prozes? No, looking for programmers for flashing things. There we go. And there was the question about the Super I/O from earlier.
Yeah.
Just because someone said, "Oh, because Pianov's here."
Oh, right,
Ask them
yeah.
and see if they know.
Yeah, Pianov, if you're about, someone was asking what kind of programmer they should buy for programming ECs. Do you get involved in ECs very much? I don't know if you're. Are you Apple only? Because we don't really do ECs on Apple, because the EC on Apple's is basically the SMC, and to my knowledge, you still can't program SMCs, if my memory serves me. I might be completely wrong on that though.
How long has that been a thing?
For as long as we've known, I believe, because the.
So even if you picked up like a 2006 MacBook Pro, it would be the same thing.
I believe
It's not a Retina and later.
Yeah,
thing.
no, I believe so. My understanding of this, and again, someone correct me if I'm wrong, is that the EC, the SMC on Mac laptops is designed as such. It has an eFuse in it that self-destructs if you try and dump the firmware on it. Therefore, we can't reprogram SMCs because no one has the firmware. That's my understanding, but I might be completely off on that. So someone please correct me if that is incorrect.
And how do they? My question is, how do they initially get programmed? And because they have to get programmed at some point, therefore someone has to have it. And I'm amazed that hasn't come out.
Someone at some point must have leaked it. Yeah.
Given that everything else eventually kind of somewhat does.
Yeah. I don't know is the answer to that. Right. Turn that up to max.
Also, is your back rubber a split one? I'm presuming this.
Yes. That
Where's
goes.
the camera? That.
Yeah. This
Is it
back
split?
rubber. It is not split. No. And that is going to go in like there when I put the covers back on.
Is that just providing a seal?
Yeah, that provides the seal
for
to the
Oh, because
chamber
that
there.
goes there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
right. So yeah, that goes on in a minute.
Oh yes, a good topic to talk, as Farphone says. What's our take on the M2 chips? Given that I haven't actually seen any hands-on reviews, as no one else has.
Yeah,
But from the information from Apple's obviously cherry-picked examples,
probably good enough.
I am pleased to see that there seems to be continuing performance gains and performance per watt gains.
Yes, that seems to be.
And that they seem to be reasonably major percentages. It's not like, oh yes, this is 2% faster than last year, or anything like that.
Yeah, they seem to have made good improvements on it, and obviously, good improvements. That's good for everyone. Stuff goes faster. It's all good.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that seems to be good. Again, we won't know until reviewers actually get samples whether it's all smoke and mirrors, because Apple, if my memory serves me, Apple's slides looked pretty good. Like, people were looking at the slides going, okay, they're comparing it against the previous M1, not against some other CPU where they would have inherent advantages. They were comparing versus the last generation M1. Like, whereas if they've been saying this encodes video X times faster than the i7, it's just like, of course it does. It has a hardware encoder. That doesn't mean anything. Whereas they compared versus the M1 and said it was faster. So from that, we can be reasonably assured that Apple I mean, they're probably flattering their numbers somehow, but they're probably not a million miles off the mark. Probably because they knew that people were going to double check them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that seems to be a good thing.
But
I'm slightly amused that, well, I mean, I was about to say I'm slightly amused that the M1 has apparently had a short life cycle. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, it's been out for 18 months, you know?
Yeah, it's been 2 years.
That's right. It's about time that they had a new one, I guess, isn't there?
I'm surprised it was 2 years.
Yeah. I mean,
because Ryzen 5000 got replaced in less than 2 years.
Yeah. I mean,
Or will have gotten replaced, should I say.
We've only had the M1 Pro and Max for a very short amount of time. Yeah. But then I wonder how the M2 compares versus the M1 Ultra.
Yeah.
Because if I just spent $2,000 on an M1 Ultra Mac and the M2 had just been announced and it was faster, I'd be a bit pissed off about that. But then on the other hand, there's always something on the horizon. So
It also depends on how it's faster.
yeah,
Because if it's faster on a single core, but you've got 6 cores, and the Ultra has 16 cores, and the workloads you're doing are video stuff, which can use 16 cores,
yeah,
the Ultra's still going to be faster. If you're doing stuff which is requiring gobs and gobs of memory bandwidth
yeah,
and capacity, the M1 Ultra is going to be faster. So
yeah.
I think it depends on the workload specifically, but I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be faster in some place, but not in others, kind of thing. And yeah,
All these screws the same length. Yes, they are.
kind of a comment of, oh, I'm building a new computer, what should I get? Well, what are you doing? What are you using it for?
Yeah, yeah. Very true.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. At the moment, when it comes to Macs, I'm more interested in chassis design right now because my dislike of modern Macs does not stem from the CPUs and the spec of them, because they've always been. I've forgotten entirely which screws go where, so I'm probably just going to long screw everything now. It'll be great. Don't worry about it. Yeah, my offense with modern Macs has just been the butterfly keyboard and stuff like that. And I'm like, are all the Macs onto a non-butterfly keyboard design yet? Because I know the MacBook 16 inch had a new keyboard design, which was not the butterfly keyboard. But like, have they got good keyboards on them now? I don't know. Someone let me know if you know the answer to that. Because as I say, like my issue at the moment is that we're going into a time where it's going to be very difficult to figure out what second-hand Macs to recommend. Because as far as I'm concerned, the butterfly keyboard is unacceptable. That's actually a deal breaker for me. I cannot recommend a MacBook to someone if it has the butterfly keyboard.
Have you got any with a butterfly keyboard at the moment?
What in at the moment? I've got a MacBook Air M1, but I don't think that's a butterfly keyboard. Where's actually that it might be a good example because this MacBook Air M1 will have a quote unquote modern keyboard on it. This has a customer facing name on it, so we can't show it to the camera. But that's a MacBook Air M1.
Oh boy!
Yeah, it has a.
I genuinely thought
screen.
I did that as I touched it because it wasn't flickering.
Yeah.
Then it was.
Yeah, the screen is really messed up on that because it's broken.
No.
Can I have a quick feel?
Nope.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's not a butterfly.
It's not a butterfly keyboard. It's also just not a good keyboard.
It's not butterfly though, and that's really my concern.
I could not use that. I could not use this laptop.
Really? Let me have a feel.
It is genuinely at the point of not being usable.
Yeah. Do you want to switch back to the main cam? Yeah, because we're done with the small stuff now. Yep. And then click off Brio. Yep.
Well, it's just the fact I swapped and forgot.
Yep. I'll put the thing back in this in a sec. I'm just gonna have a feel of this keyboard.
Yeah, no, that keyboard is an absolute no-go for me. I could not use that £2,000 laptop with that keyboard.
I mean,
I would happily use
I think this is 1,200, but
I would happily use this £400 Dell.
Yeah, I really want to I really want to feel like a modern Dell XPS keyboard. Because I think, as far as everyone is concerned, the modern XPSs have really good keyboards. So I want to know what that feels like.
HP Uber Premium Books, whatever the hell the model is actually called.
Because like this doesn't feel as bad as the butterfly keyboard. It doesn't have that horrible dome feel to it.
Just the complete lack of feedback, but then mush.
Yeah. However, again, just the travel is too short. The travel is just too short. It's very much a case of, you know,
it disappoints me because
they were just like, no, it has to be thin. Therefore, we have to make the keyboard travel incredibly short because there's just no room to have the keyboard, the switch throat be any further than that. And again, my answer to that is, so stop making them thinner. We don't need them to be any thinner than this. Make them like a millimeter thicker and the keyboard will feel a billion times better. But yeah, I see what you mean. This is better than a butterfly keyboard, but it's still not pleasant in my experience.
It is not something I would accept.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it unacceptable.
It is unacceptable for a laptop that costs more than £200.
Yeah, I think possibly the perspective I'm coming from is that is the keyboard that any modern Mac is going to have. And by a modern Mac, we're basically talking 2016 onwards. So the Touch Bar, the Thunderbolt era, basically. Sorry, the Thunderbolt 3 era. It's going to have either the butterfly keyboard or that keyboard. Those are your two options.
Or I could have this.
Yes. However, if someone
It's not an Apple-only option.
Yeah, but if someone comes in and they says, I want a MacBook, I have to use a MacBook because I use Logic. I use Logic exclusively.
The fact that you require a MacBook means you are not using Logic.
Okay, but hear me out. I have to use Bento, which is Apple only, probably. I have to use Bento.
How is Bento?
It's a productivity thing.
Okay.
I have to use Bento, I have to use Logic, I have to use Final Cut 11 or whatever. I have to use a MacBook. That is it has to be a MacBook. What should I buy? And you say, okay, if you buy a brand new one, it's going to cost 1,500 quid or whatever. Okay, I can't afford that. What are my second-hand options? I'm like, okay, well, it's not really reasonable to recommend anything older than 2016 anymore, because 2015 Retinas, they're still good laptops, but are you really recommending someone to buy a 7-year-old laptop?
Yeah.
That's got maybe 3 years left in it before it's very much EOL.
Yeah.
So, while, don't get me wrong, I love the Retinas. I've still got a 2014 in the shop, but we can't really recommend someone buy a 7-plus-year-old laptop. That's not reasonable. So we're talking 2016 onwards, right? That means it's going to be a butterfly keyboard, or it's going to be that. And that is significantly better than a butterfly keyboard. So
that's still not saying much.
I know that's not saying much, but it does mean that at least we know that if we can push past the dark age of the butterfly keyboard, it means that as soon as we can get the butterfly keyboard era out of the way, the second-hand Apple market will be not awful anymore. But as far as I'm concerned, the butterfly keyboard is a showstopper. Sorry, it is a deal breaker. That's the word. A showstopper would imply that it's really good. A deal breaker. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just amazed as to how awful it feels.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was that was not a pleasant keyboard to use.
But then I guess I've been spoiled by the fact that literally the only thing I've typed on for... Oh no, that's not true. I was going to say basically the only thing I've typed on is full travel mechanical keyboards.
Yeah, I use laptop. I use laptop keyboards every day of questionable quality, so I'm used to playing the field. And most laptop keyboards, sure, they're bad, but they're completely palatable. They're not awful. It's like this.
They're also not £1,200 or £1,300. I think that's my point.
I agree.
It's a £1,200-1,300 laptop, and I'm going.
Yeah.
At the keyboard.
I agree.
That's, I think, most of my problem with it is why it's just nasty. And it's just kind of a case of like, Apple had it so right with the MacBooks from, when did they go to the aluminium bodies? The like milled aluminium bodies.
Unibody was 2009.
They had it right from like 2009 until like 2016.
Yeah.
And then didn't.
I don't know what the thought process behind the...
I presume it was just thinner.
Yeah, basically that. I don't know what the thought process behind the butterfly keyboard was. The funny thing is, a lot of people thought that Apple were going to make a low-profile mechanical keyboard, but they doubled down because mechanical keyboards were getting popular, and Apple were the opposite of that. And everyone was just like, "Oh, surely they're going to make a low-profile mechanical keyboard," and they went literally the opposite direction. And you know, then there's a couple of diehards out there that are just like, "I like the butterfly keyboard," and I'm like, "You're wrong."
Yeah.
And no, you are no longer entitled to your opinion. I am withdrawing your right to an opinion because you're that wrong. The butterfly keyboard is objectively awful.
Yeah.
If the only people who say otherwise are people who have spent $2,000 on a MacBook and have convinced themselves that it's okay, because they spent $2,000 on it.
The only people who say it's a good keyboard are people who have Stockholm syndrome.
Yes, precisely. Yeah, precisely that.
Or possibly people who've never typed on anything else.
Yeah, that as well. That is also a strong possibility, is people who just don't know any better. So yeah. Does the solder pistol work now? We're going to find out in a sec. I've just been cleaning out the... there's a... Oh, so let me switch cameras again. Bench cam. The assembly that goes at the back here, there is... So this cylinder holds the solder that it sucks up. So the solder, it gets melted by the element. It gets sucked up through this tube, and it comes out in this cylinder, and it hurtles to the back of the cylinder, and it strikes this plate, which stops it. And then in the cylinder, it cools and becomes a solder ball and just stays in the cylinder. So there's this strike plate and a filter behind it, and this will build up a mountain of just blobby slag on it, and you have to clean that off now and then. So I've just been cleaning all of the slag off of that, and now I can put this back in there like that, and now that goes in there, and we go like that. Put that in there. Is that in properly? Just settle that so it's actually sealed. There we go. And now it should work. So could you plug it back in for me?
Oh, okay.
The struggle. There we go. All right, we are heating. That flickers on the camera, but it does not flicker in real life. But yeah, so that is heating. And we've got the temperature dial working. And trigger squeeze. Good. It makes the burrs. So I guess I'll find something to try and desolder with it now. So let's switch back to live gamer.
Hello.
Gamer. There we go.
Gamer.
Munchausen syndrome. Wash hands from lead of solder. Okay. The blobby slag 4000. Yeah.
The blobby slag 4000.
That thing is really only 35 euros ish. Oh, there's the smoke that I was talking about. So the heating element is that coming up on the camera? I don't think it is, but yeah, it's smoking away because it's a new heating element. So yeah, it'll do that. When I purchased this, I think it was about $90. I think I purchased it for. This is an S-993A. I don't know much about desoldering up guns, if I'm honest. This was just the one I found on AliExpress and bought. So, yeah. Might have been eBay, actually. I can't remember.
Yeah, it seems to work quite well.
Yeah, it does the job. It does what it says on the tin.
I was amazed with the old circuit boards.
You used it on the mouse, didn't you?
Yeah, on the mice, and just...
Yeah.
It was very good.
When you get it right and you get it at the right angle, it just disappears the solder, and you're like, brilliant. I'm just seeing if I can find. Oh, I tell you what, I'll test it on this. I've got a I've got one of the LED hearts that I made. I assembled one of these the other day because I was reviewing a soldering iron. Bench cam. So yeah, here's a circuit board.
I was going to say I was about to move the camera that way, so you weren't desoldering on top of the laptop.
Let's go straight, just as a special treat. I'll even focus the camera.
And
1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Right, let's see if this thing works. So let's go up to 400-ish C. I'll just let that heat up a bit more because it was at minimum at the moment. Actually, well, minimum is probably enough for this board. Let's just see if that'll melt solder. So I'll go for some of these LEDs. As you can see, there's little solder blobs on those. Let's see if that will melt. Yep. Magic. That's amazing. So I'll just do the close-up focus so I can give you a close-up on that now.
Closer. Why does the camera even have that focus option?
There we go. So as you can see where I've desoldered that leg, no solder there anymore. So I'll do another one there for good measure. Caradog turns it back on again. So let's just see if I can do a mega close-up of this.
You need to go closer for the focus.
Yeah, I'm trying not to touch the camera.
There you go. I'll pull the focus back. Oh, that was a good one.
Bam. There we go. That's the desoldering gun in action.
It's okay. What we can do now is we can do it under a microscope.
We can. I do now have a microscope.
I have been equipped.
I'm not dragging the microscope over here.
No, absolutely not.
However, I do now have a microscope. It will make an appearance. So
yes.
All the people who've been in my comments going, you need a microscope. I've got one. It's cool. I've got one. Right. Off. Yep. Groovy. I'll put that over there to cool down. Excellent.
It has been unplugged. It will not be left on overnight.
Indeed. And I will remember not to leave it on overnight. Someone said earlier on, oh, you need a hard cutoff switch on it. And that's a good idea, actually. At some point, I might find like a desk lamp flex that's got an inline switch on it or something like that.
I see. Yeah. That's
so then
bad.
I've actually got a switch.
The other thing I was thinking of is, you know, the FaceTimers.
Oh, yeah. I'll put it on one of those just so if it gets left on, it will switch off overnight.
Yeah, literally replace to plug the bench into that so it just turns off.
It's not a terrible idea, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do that for the bench because sometimes I deliberately leave the PC on or I leave it in sleep or something like that. But along those lines, though, something as none of this should be on overnight.
Well, have like the
soldering,
the hot air,
yeah.
The bench power supply.
Yeah, put that on a separate
strip, which is on a timer.
That's not a terrible idea.
And then it's just off at 6:30 or something like that.
Yeah, so if anything has been left, if I've forgotten to turn anything off before leaving the shop, it will just automatically switch off out of hours. That's a good idea. Daniel Graham, thank you very much for the $8.99. Hey guys, regular watcher of the repair channel, have a cup of beers, have a coupe of beer tins on me. Thank you. I did not say that wrong. A coupe of beer tins on me. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
I was just, not sure what was going on.
Yeah. We got there in the end. I managed to get that done before the alcohol hit. So, yeah.
Congratulations. You just have another 2/3 of a bottle to go.
Ish. Half. Solder Slurper. Is it an Amscope? No, it's not an Amscope. It's an Andon Star. It's an Andon Star, which I got. It's a second-hand one from one of the other repair techs in the Discord. Muerto, he is known as on the Discord, who is a very skilled tech as well. He's not super vocal, but he posts pictures of his work now and then, and his work is so clean. His soldering work is his micro soldering is just picturesque. He shows before and after pictures of his trace repair, and you're like, my God, that looks amazing, you know.
Yeah, I didn't realise he was in Bournemouth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's based in Bournemouth, because with a name like Muerto, I thought he was Spanish or something.
Yeah, because he went through the whole, Mac issue that Si had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was pages of stuff with them going.
Is that
back
the one
and
with
forth.
the keyboard issue?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And just all of the stuff that was going on there, I was just like, oh my God.
He's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a secret gem in the Discord. I don't know if he gets around anywhere else, because I'm not active in any other repair Discord, so I don't exactly stalk members to see where else they are. But yeah, he's very good. But yeah. And at any rate, he said, he DM'd me saying, I've got a new scope. Do you want my old one? And I'm just like, sure thing. And he sent it on over, and it's an Andon star. And for people who are curious, hang on a sec, where's the box? Because it's right here, I think. Oh, it made it to the back room, but I know where it is.
Famous last words.
Yeah, people are going to
I
ask.
know where this is.
It's an Andon star AD407. It's an AD407.
Nice.
Yeah, it gives a really great picture. And I haven't had any experience using a microscope, but I was saying to Caradog, because I was showing it to Caradog before we went live, and I was really impressed by how it gives a really good picture with a really good amount of space underneath the lens. So in order to get the close-up shots of soldering with the webcam, with the Brio here, I had to have the Brio like a couple of inches away from the subject. The Brio can do crazy macro shots, but it has to do it an inch away from the subject.
Whereas, it doesn't have any magnification.
Exactly. Whereas the Andon star, I can have like a full handspan or more underneath the lens, so I've got space to get the hot air and to get the hot air in there and stuff like that, and still be zoomed in heavily, and have a really crystal clear picture. So it's definitely going to make my life easier.
I think the only thing that might be difficult for the filming is just the fact that because it's a pure top-down view, and you can't have any. It can't come in slightly from the opposite side to you. Effectively, you're going to have to change your soldering angle and stuff. Potentially, yeah. Just because it's a straight top-down, so you might have to side stuff.
Although thankfully, because I've got the 45-degree, the bent nozzles on my hot air, the hot air doesn't completely block the view. So we'll see. But yeah. But yes, at any rate, it's great, and hopefully it will be featured in a video at some point soon, just when something comes along.
Yeah.
So yeah.
More board repair.
Indeed, indeed.
Are you finding that since how to phrase the question? Since you have done board repair, are you finding that the amount of stuff that's coming in that is board repair is increasing? If that makes sense, because you know how to find it more?
Not from customers, although with customer work, just general walk-in stuff, that's definitely where the BIOS-related stuff comes into play. I've had a lot of, before I continue on this train of thought actually, Rapid Ralph, thank you very much for the €5 for the screwdriver hijack, much appreciated. But yeah, certainly learning to do BIOS programming has helped a lot with walk-in repairs. There's been lots of laptops, no-post laptops, which I would have just put down to it's dead. But now I can reprogram the BIOS. I can be like, now there's an extra step of things that I can do. And I've had quite a couple of successes with that. For actual board repair, not a huge amount of walk-in stuff for that, if I'm honest, except there's been a couple here and there. But for board repair, I'm actually getting a lot of requests for mail-in stuff. However, I'm having to temper that because I'm not that good. That's the thing. You know, I've got no problem with saying it. I'm not that talented. So there's lots of stuff which I'm being offered. I'm like, oh man, I understand what the problem is here, but I'm not good enough to tackle this one, you know. So also, one of the things that I need to do is I need to build up like a spreadsheet or a database and say, I need to find out who the other skilled UK-based board repairers are. So when someone calls me and says, I've got this, and I listen to them and I'm like, I know for a fact I'm not talented enough to do that one, I can be like, so-and-so is very close to you, take it to them, you know. So yeah. But yeah, certainly there is a bit of an increase though, because once you're aware that certain fixes are possible, you start considering them when you see a fault. Instead of just going, the board is killed, you start going, this is a board repair issue, and so on. But yeah, EC reprogramming, that is definitely something I need to get into because I am still having to turn away or say, I can't do this there's been a few repairs in this year where, I mean, I had a HP gaming laptop in recently, which I'm 99% certain was a bad EC that absolutely is fixable by someone who knows how to program and replace an EC. However, I was in the position where I'm just like, I'm not ready to do this repair. And I said, you need the EC to be replaced on this. This is not one that I can do, kind of thing. and I had to turn it
guess
away.
also just a case of, at the very least, you being able to be reasonably definitive in what needs to happen means that if a person's interested in getting it repaired by someone else, they at least can find keywords to use and search for and stuff.
Exactly that. One of the biggest steps in learning board repair is just simply diagnosis and identification of the problem.
Yeah.
The most soul-crushing failures are the ones where you spend an hour measuring it and looking and then just go, I have no idea why this board doesn't work.
Yeah.
However, if at least you can say, I have identified the problem, I'm just not skilled enough to fix it, you can at least say to them, this is what needs to be done with this. I'm not capable of doing this, but if you can find someone who knows how to program and fit an EC, that will be your fix, you know. So yeah. But yeah. RT809F can sometimes read some of the EC. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I do need to look at as I say, I need to talk to Lead Farmer and Wild Floor Lamp and say, what do I need for EC? Because I'm willing to buy another programmer for EC programming. I'm willing to buy equipment that is required.
You just need to buy some laptop with an RS323 port on it.
Well, no, I think there's modern stuff out. I think they're dev kits and stuff like that. They're actual, like, I think the stuff for programming ECs, I think they are actual board development kits for people who are developing products. But that doesn't necessarily mean they cost the earth either, to my knowledge. But
no, absolutely.
I don't know.
Just a case of, you know how it's just like those Baofeng radios that we looked at programming. Just the fact of, oh yes, you need a laptop running Windows 98 SE.
Yeah.
You also need to have serial, not USB.
Should have spent a bit more on ones where you could just dial in the frequency. Long story. Anyway, problem with some EC is not fully supported and can have issues reading fully. Yeah, I need to have a conversation with someone. The problem is I really hate bothering Lead Farmer and Wild Floor Lamp and Muerto. I feel really embarrassed to ping them and start pestering them for information because I know you guys are really busy, and I know people like Lead Farmer and Floor Lamp. You guys must spend so many hours in other repair Discords helping people because I know you guys get around a lot. But yeah. Let's see.
But it's also a case of, I guess, the fact of, as you were saying in the conversation you had with Wild Floor Lamp, about what information do you want answered in the videos I do and stuff like that, is a case of there is a bit of an exchange on that front.
Yes.
Because it's the fact of because they're not interested in doing the YouTube so much, but you are, and answering those questions, making sure the basic information is there for them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if they do jump in onto something, someone already knows the basic information to hand over, so they can just go, and someone can go, answer.
Did we talk about this last week, or were we off stream when we had this conversation?
About the script and stuff, we're off stream.
Yeah. So I'm working. I've got a script ready for a new voltage. Also, just about read the chat. Yes, this is apple cider. We are drinking Henry Weston's Vintage today, and Henry Weston's Vintage is an 8.2% cider, which is why I'm wrecked, and because I'm a lightweight, so this destroys me. Which is why I'm tipsy.
This is genuinely the only cider I drink.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really good. It's just very heavy.
I also will drink 1 bottle a week now, which is this one.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, you're not doing our friend in common who would do like 4 of these a night. And at one point we were actually legitimately worried about him. We were like, my dude, you actually need to drink less because we think you're an alcoholic. And we don't mean that in a ha-ha jokey way. We mean, no, seriously, you are drinking too much alcohol. You need to stop or cut back. He's better now. Anyway. Anyway, where was I? Yes, this is apple cider. So I'm working on a script for a new voltage injection video because the most popular video on the channel right now is my walkthrough on how to do voltage injection. I think it's Board Repair Basics number 10. Which was the breakout video that snowballed the channel. But the problem is that video, it hasn't aged very well. and there's a lot of stuff in it that is either missing information and definitely borderline misinformation, which is why I've already edited the title and description to be like, please read the description, there are corrections for this. But I need to actually take that video down and replace it with a better one. So what I'm doing is, what we were just alluding to just then, is I've scripted a better version of that video where I'm going to do a new video demonstrating voltage injection. And I actually said to Lead Farmer and to Wild Floor Lamp, I said, I'm doing a new voltage injection video. Here is a link to the script. Please look over this and tell me, what would you change on this? What information do you guys, as people who are in the trenches, what do you want the YouTubers like me to be telling people? And that seems to be a really good thing that I can do, is actually collaborate with the experts and say, what is the information that you guys are constantly tearing your hair out over? What is the stuff that you want us YouTubers like me saying to people, going, remember this, you must keep in mind this, and so on and so forth. And I feel like that would be a good, like you say, an exchange of information where I can pester them to learn new things, but in exchange, they can feed me directly the stuff that they want people on the internet to know.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that's kind of, like, it'd be a strong word to say that's the direction I want the channel to take, but this is a policy that I want to have moving forward, is when I'm doing a tutorial video, I need to make sure that I've spoken to people like Floor Lamp and Lead Farmer and so on, and say, this is what I'm going to say in this video. Do you agree with me? You know. So yeah, and the entire board repair basics series, I do intend on remaking the whole thing, because it's an old series now and I have much more knowledge. 4 of those in a night, fucking lightweight. You're Scottish, Chris. Anyway.
Yeah, and also Piernov.
Where is he?
Right there.
Oh yes, oh, the highlighted message, of course. Possible for you to do a video on what not to do as a board repair beginning. I've got a few points on the beginner's guidelines thread for bad caps. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. As I say, I'm going to redo my board repair basics series, and the episode 1 of that will be covering the basics of what is board repair, what kind of equipment do we use, what does board repair do and not do, and that would be a great place to include stuff like that. So
I think, from my perspective, I would almost say that the most important thing to cover first is what not to do, what will make the problem worse, what will mean you cannot fix it.
yes, do not heat gun the CPU. Do not heat gun your GPU.
Yeah.
That does not fix things.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's the place to start.
Yeah.
Because if people don't do that, there's a far greater chance that stuff will actually work.
Yep, agreed. And yeah, what I'll do is, I'll make a mental note to make sure that you're involved in this as well, Pianov. And I'll try to make a point of I'll get back to you on that one, because I'm not. I've got a Bad Caps account, but I don't read the Bad Caps forums. But I know that obviously you're super involved in Bad Caps, and I think Wild Floor Lamp is a fairly heavy hitter on Bad Caps as well. I might be wrong. I can't remember.
Certainly references it reasonably often in bits I catch on the tech support.
Right. I mean, he's got enough on his GitHub. So yeah. But yes, agreed. Just trying to find a way to avoid more people randomly reflowing GPUs and randomly injecting 19 volts. Still seeing that too often. Yeah, that's the problem. Is in my how to do voltage injection, I basically said, if the voltage rail is rated for 19 volts, then it's good for 19 volts. And it's like, no, the CPU might be shorted on that rail. Therefore, you do not put 19 volts on it. Because that might go into the CPU.
Yeah, I mean, the statement...
But I didn't know that at the time.
The statement you made isn't technically inaccurate.
Yeah.
Because the rail is rated for it, but the fault is everything else connected to it isn't.
That's right. And
so don't.
The problem is, to an extent, is most of my when I made board repair basics, my entire knowledge was Lewis Rossman videos, and Lewis Rossman was the person who told me, if the rail is rated for 5 volts, that's what the rail should be good for, right? But obviously, Lewis Rossman was in the same boat that I was in at some point, where he was figuring this stuff out as well. And thus, some of his earlier videos also have bits in them that have not aged terribly well.
Also
But
a case of...
Again, I didn't know that at the time because, yeah.
Yeah, also a case of, not to sound like I'm trying to defend him,
Yeah.
which probably is unnecessary. He doesn't particularly need defending by me.
Yeah.
But a fact of obviously also that statement of if he's working on MacBooks and only MacBooks and he knows every bloody logic board, left, right, center, up, down, left and right,
Yeah.
he goes, this 19 volt rail's good for 19 volts because I know every single damn thing on this rail.
Yes.
And it's kind of a case of when you are that specialized and you're just like, oh, this is a blah, 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 I don't even need the schematic, I
Yeah.
require this component, that one's... You know,
Yeah.
when it is that...
There are 10 asterisks after the statement, and he knows what all of them are, but he can't say that in the video.
Yeah, and it's kind of a case of, yes,
Yeah.
it doesn't reduce from the point of a fact of, you don't have that knowledge, therefore don't. This is what you need to do because you don't have that knowledge. You will know when you can do something other than this, when you have the knowledge. I'm not teaching you when to do it,
Yeah.
because by the time you have the knowledge to know when to do it, you won't be asking the question of can I do it? It's the point I often ask a lot of time when people say, oh, can I do this? Well, by the fact that you are asking the question, no, you cannot.
Yeah.
It can be done, but you should not.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, Piano says, I post on Badcaps because it's the only English-speaking place I found back in late 2015. Yeah, well, that's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, Badcaps is the de facto independent forum for board repair. It's not the only one, but certainly, like, it's a very powerful one. And at the end of the day, when I'm looking for schematics and stuff like that, Badcaps is the place that keeps showing up. So yeah, as I say, nothing doing. I think Badcaps is great. So yeah, it's I think it's a very strong resource, and I think it's a very powerful resource these days because it's got folks like Pianov who are posting there with the correct information. But yeah, at any rate, as I say though, TLDR of this conversation is I want to move into a position where I can say, right, all of the folks who are posting on forums and in repair discords, I want to make a new series of videos on board repair basics. And I want to make sure that I'm putting out the information that you guys want other people to see. I have an audience. I want to give you guys access to that audience. So, yeah. Folks like Wild Floor Lamp are regulars in my Discord, so it's not difficult to get to them. But certainly, when I'm doing certain videos, I'll need to make a point of, I can't remember if we've got a DM conversation at any point, Pianov, but I know I can find you on Discord at some point. And I can say, hey, I'm doing X. What's your opinion on Y? You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have an audience, so my opinion matters more. Exactly, Chris. Exactly. Right, rolling back slightly. Let's see. Lead Farmer says, not in the trenches. Now back to assisting with logistics. Oh, fair enough. Understandable. And also, what did someone say that I thought? Oh yeah. Firephone says, did I get Amtex flux? Not yet. However, Wild Floor Lamp has linked me to a new UK-based supplier for genuine Amtex, and I'm going to buy some because I'm using Vaseline or some bollocks from eBay. And I need to buy the new Amtex. And one of the first things I want to do is actually make a video where I say, here is eBay fake Amtex, here is real Amtex. Let's see if I can tell the difference. Because I'm kind of curious to that. Because one or two things is going to happen. Either I'm not going to see much difference and be like, interesting, I can't tell the difference. Or it's going to change my world and I'm going to go, holy shit. You know. And I'm really curious as to what the answer is going to be. Not to say that you should use fake Amtex, because I'm sure people can provide a laundry list of reasons why genuine is better. But I'm curious as to how stark the difference will actually be. It might only matter when we get down to the micro soldering level, but I'm sure I can find a burner board somewhere where I can start desoldering and resoldering bits and see if stuff that I previously found challenging is magically easier with the real deal. So yeah, your friend in Sweden bought AliExpress Amtech. You had to show him, he didn't believe it. Yeah, we'll see. Yep. we'll see. I'm going to buy some. And if anyone is looking, if anyone in the audience is UK based and is looking for it, in the Discord at the moment, there is a link in my, is it in bargains or reference? It's in resources.
Resources, references, whatever the hell the channel's called.
Somewhere down in resources or references section, there is a link to it.
That's what it's called, I think.
I think it's in bargains.
No,
it's probably in bargains. Yeah, it's in bargains.
It's right there.
Yeah. In the Discord, in the bargains section, there's a link to a UK supplier. They are cnlselectronics.co.uk. cnlselectronics.co.uk. They are stocking genuine Amtex, and they have it in various sizes. So yes, I'm going to buy some, so I can join the elite squad of people who use genuine Amtex.
There's no S.
CNLS Electronics.
No, it's Amtech.
Oh, Amtech. Oh, yeah, sorry. I was calling it Amtex. Yeah. Sleepwalker says, Graham, what are your thoughts on the upcoming 4000 series GPUs, price to performance? They sound like they're going to be faster. They sound like they're going to use even more power.
I think from what I have seen, I think the price to performance is going to be slightly worse, but the overall performance is going to be significantly better. The performance per watt of the 80, 90, and 90 Ti equivalents is going to be substantially worse.
Yeah.
They are going to be well above their efficiency curve.
I've said this several times on the podcast, but we go through cycles of high performance, high power consumption, decent performance, low power consumption. So, for example, the 70 series was high performance of its day and used a crap ton of power. Then the 90 series came along and had a modest performance increase at like half the power level. So it was a big deal. We are currently in a cycle where we are getting high performance at the cost of extreme power consumption. And based on what we're learning, the 4000 series is only going to be worse from that respect. It will be higher performance, but yeah, the 80 Ti, 90 Ti kind of era, the 4090 is going to be a 500 watt card. I think that's safe to guess.
Yeah, probably. It's probably going to be a...
Personally, I can't stomach having a 500 watt graphics card. I could not stomach that. But on the flip side, I don't need a graphics card that's that high performance, so that's fine. And as the point that you have made many times, if you're going to buy a Halo product, don't complain that it is inefficient. Yeah. If you can afford a 3090 Ti, you can afford the electricity that it consumes.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can't afford the electricity it consumes, then don't buy a 3090 Ti. So I don't like it, but it's also just where we're at the moment. I'm looking forward to when we get off onto the back end of that curve and performance per watt starts getting better again. But yeah.
I think it entirely depends on whether people buy AMD or not. Because
how are AMD for power consumption? I have no idea.
Because the comment I'm saying about RDNA 3 is that it's going to be faster than the 4090 at the top end, and it's going to use 50% of the power.
Really?
So that's why Lovelace is going to use so much power, because NVIDIA is concerned that they're going to lose the performance crown.
Wow.
Therefore, all the power.
That's a big deal, because we've already got this with CPUs where Ryzen is trading blows.
Ryzen is trading blows with AMD, Intel Core.
Yeah, Ryzen is trading blows with Intel Core at half the power consumption. Or, well, maybe not half, but significantly less power consumption. Yeah. And if they can do that with graphics cards as well, that's a big deal. Because, with CPUs, it's not the end of the world. Because, top-end CPUs, Ryzen 9s are burning, what, 120, 150 watts? Something like that?
144 watt.
Yeah.
Peak basic.
That kind of area.
200 watt.
Yeah.
Maxed out PBO, I think it is.
Whereas the Intel, the i9 is looking for 250, 300, maybe 350 peaks. You know, probably 300 peaks. It's something like that, isn't it?
290 something, yeah,
Yeah.
300,
So
I think.
we're already talking about, that's already like 100 to 150 watt delta, which is kind of a big deal. However, when you're talking about graphics cards, when we're talking about the 3090 Ti being a 400 watt card, if you used half of that, that's 200 watts. That's a lot of power. 200 watts is a big deal. And like if you ran Intel NVIDIA, you had an Intel i9 burning like 250 watts of power and a 3090 burning 400 watts. That's like 750 watts. Switch over to an all AMD system and you've got a Ryzen 9 at like 150 watts. Let's say 200. And you've got a top-end Ryzen and you've got a top-end Radeon card at like 200 to 300 watts. That's 500 watts. That's 250 watts difference. You know, that brings you out of the, oh my God, this is a literal electric fireplace, into the, okay, well, this is a top-end computer, it uses a lot of power. But that's the thing. We're into the space where, you know, I was I was watching a Linus Tech Tips video the other day where it was the early days of the 3090 and they SLI'd two 3090s. And the system was consuming 1,050 watts of power. And it's just like, my actual electric heater, my actual shop heater uses 1,000 watts. And I'm like, we're not even joking about space heaters anymore. It's literally a space heater. And I'm like, I'm not comfortable with that. So if AMD can actually halve the power consumption, that's a big deal. That's a very big deal as far as I'm concerned. Let's see. The 40 series, it seems to be the same watt to performance. Yeah, I suppose if it's let's say it's 500, let's pretend that it's going to be 500 watts. If it performs higher, then the performance per watt is going to be about the same, I suppose. But again, we're coming down to a fact of, are you comfortable with your graphics card consuming 500 watts?
But it's also probably going to be a case of you can reduce the power target to 80% and lose 5% performance.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't actually measured the results yet, but I've been undervolting my 3080 Ti recently to cut down on the noise because I've got a Founders Edition and it's very loud. And I started...
How dare it make 25 decibels?
Absolutely. But I started undervolting it and I was quite pleased with the results. And I've lost a little bit of top-end power. I've capped the boost clocks at 1800. Whereas previously it could boost to the high 1800s, so 1850, 1890, that kind of area. So I've lost a little bit of performance, but it's significantly cooler.
Interesting. I knocked would have expected to have boosted higher than that.
Doesn't boost very high. That's the problem. The Founders Edition cooler isn't very good. It's very pretty and it's very small, but it's not very good.
Yeah.
So it doesn't boost very high.
Oh yeah, I just would have expected to have boosted higher.
Nope.
Just I thought I assumed the 3080 Ti's would boost slightly better than the 3090s because they're the same core, same power profile basically.
Yeah.
But less stuff per core.
If you can get the temperature down, it probably could. Like, let's say I water cooled my 3080 Ti and then let it rip, it would probably boost up to 2 gigahertz. However, it is strangled by the fact that it has the 3080 cooler on it.
Oh yeah.
It's the same cooler as the 3080.
It's not got the 3090 FE cooler, has
it does not have the 3090 cooler. It's got a 3090 core with a 3080 cooler on it.
Yeah.
And that really throttles its performance.
Yeah.
Now, if I actually needed that performance, I would be very sad about this and I would be looking to swap it out for a partner card or I'd be looking to water cool it or something like that. I don't actually need that performance, so I'm just undervolting it.
Yeah.
But undervolting it knocked about 5 or 8 degrees out of the peak temperatures, and that was enough to significantly drop the volume of the card.
Yeah.
Which is much nicer. And also I feel better knowing that it's not sitting at, because previously if I was maxing the card, it was looking for the high 70s, looking for 80 degrees. And I don't really like my graphics card looking for 80 degrees. I know that they can do that, but on a graphics card that costs a 4-figure sum of money, I would like it to be less than that, you know, for longevity, because I expect to get a decent amount of years service out of this graphics card. But yeah, undervolting it worked very well. But I haven't actually looked to see how much power I've knocked out of it. I'm hoping that it's dropped down to like the low 200s.
I'm still half expecting to see you with an AM5 system and a 7000 series AMD card by the end of 2023.
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't need it.
No, I know, but you also don't need a 5800X and a 3080 Ti. You just opportunely upgraded.
Well, that's
to them.
just that they were opportunistic purchases. This is a serious question that I've been asking myself: is when AM5 comes out, am I going to buy an AM5 system? Because on the one hand, I do not need an AM5 system, but on the other hand, I am a tech YouTuber.
You need an AM5 system.
Precisely. On the one hand, I don't need it, but on the other hand, I'm a tech YouTuber who needs to look at the new things so I can have an opinion and some experience with the new platform and say, yes, I've tried it. This is what I think of it. This is what I have discovered by using it.
It's also a case of...
I don't get this stuff for free. I got to pay for this. So what do?
Only because you don't reply to your emails.
We need to have a conversation about you replying to sponsorship emails and arranging sponsorships for me. We need to have this conversation.
You will be saying this in your next video. Okay.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's just, I've said to Caradog on a couple of occasions, I've been like, my dude, if you want to reach out to people and get sponsorships or get review samples of stuff that you want to look at, feel free to do so. And Caradog is like, this puts us into a business arrangement and we need to have a conversation about that. And I'm just like,
It's so awful, me having this successful YouTube channel. How terrible.
Yeah.
Also, yes, as Chris says about Intel Socket 1700, it appears to only be single generation.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
What's the... Socket 1700 is Alder Lake, yeah.
12th gen.
Single generation.
Yeah, it's going to get replaced. It's apparently going to 2386.
Yeah.
I think it's going to an LGA 2386 for 13th gen.
I'm trying to decide
and 13th gen has officially been delayed by a quarter.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide how I feel about this because it's a controversial topic.
On the Intel side, I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah,
we kind of already knew this.
Intel fanboys are used to this. You buy a new CPU, you're going to need a new motherboard because no one upgrades by one generation.
No, but I think them having 3 generations of support in there, people will.
Yeah.
Because because that would take you from a 10th gen to a 12th gen, which would be a worthwhile in-socket upgrade.
Yeah, but then you can't do that anyway.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah. If you had 3 generations of support, going 10th gen to 12th gen.
Because that's just it. See, the problem with LGA 1700 only getting 1 generation of CPU support is that people with a 12th gen CPU will not be able to upgrade to a 13th gen CPU. No one is expecting... Hang on a sec, my mic derped again. Hang on a sec, I'm going to fix this. Yeah.
My chest.
My bloody chest. No one is expecting to go from 12 to 14. And if you are, you're a fool because Intel has never supported that.
Yeah.
So the question is who is going to go from 12 to 13? Yeah. No one. Yeah. No one's going to go from 12 to 13. Therefore, it doesn't matter.
0.5% of people.
Yeah. So this is the thing, is... riddle me this. Like, is that a controversial thing to say that no one is going to upgrade from 12 to 13? Is that a controversial? Is that a hot take?
On motherboard.
Yeah.
On keeping the same board, and so on. Literally just a CPU upgrade. I think the day one purchasers who are doing that will be 0.5% at best.
That's right. And the kind of people who are upgrading to the latest generation when it comes out are not going to care about buying a new motherboard.
Yeah.
Unless they spent $1,000 on their motherboard. And if you're
Then they'll just buy another £1,000 motherboard.
because if you're spending £1,000 on your motherboard, you don't care about how much your motherboard costs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. The people who this is actually going to affect are also the people who have money to burn.
Who care the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because
I don't think that's a hot take.
Because it's all, well, yeah, certainly from a personal example for me, is a case of I could have put a 3000 series or a 5000 series CPU in my X470. Or I could have ended up with a good motherboard by buying an X570 motherboard.
That's just it. I'm running an X470 at home, and I'm running an X470 with a 5800X, and I know that 5800X is not giving me everything. And I know that's because of the motherboard it's in. Because I own two 5800Xs. There's one in the Lianli over there, and there's one in my PC at home. My PC at home has an X470 Tai Chi. The Lianli has an X570 Strix. The X570 Strix one boosts harder. The Lianli's 5800X clocks higher than my 5800X at home. And the only rational explanation for that is because it's an X570 instead of an X470. So therefore, we can conclude that if you want balls to the walls performance, you want to get the latest motherboard. And like
it matters less X470 to X570.
Yeah.
But certainly X370 to X570 is a huge difference.
Yeah.
Because of where AMD was. And I do not villainize the motherboard manufacturers for going to AMD when they first launched Ryzen, going, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Your processors are going to be great. I'm sure they'll be wonderful. Just like the PAL drivers were wonderful. Just like Bulldozer was fabulous.
Yeah.
You know, just like those were fabulous processors holding in the new generation of processors that don't work.
Yeah. X370 motherboards were not very good because
AMD was not very good.
Yeah, and people were not expecting Ryzen to be as killer as it ended up being.
Yeah.
X470 was when stuff started getting really interesting.
An X470 for all but the top end users is absolutely fine and fabulous boards.
Yeah. As I
However,
say, my X470 Tai Chi, it still does the business. It's certainly good enough that I have not actually... it's certainly good enough that I haven't said, please sell me your X570 Master.
You're not actually spending money to fix the problem.
Exactly, yeah.
Or you haven't taken the
when
Lianli.
when I say the Lianli clocks higher, we're talking at like 100, 150 megahertz here.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's a case of, so it's a comment of the people who are constantly searching for peak performance are upgrading the motherboard every generation. However, it's also the case of the fact of it's not necessary and it's not needed. And the in-socket support for AMD is excellent and something they should be commended for because of the fact of now, admittedly very late to the party, but now you can stick a 5600X or a 5600 in a board that had a 1700X.
Yeah.
You can go from a 1700X to a 5600 in the same board and get 100% performance scale.
Yeah.
And that's mad.
Yeah. But the question is just, I feel like it's such a niche. I feel like it's such a niche group of people who actually benefit from this.
Yes and no. Admittedly, obviously, it is a niche, the people who watch tech YouTube. But according to Hardware Unbox's numbers, based off of surveys they've done of their audience, something like 60% of AMD owners have done an in-socket upgrade.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the case there is for, like, for example, Goofy Balls of Fire just said, I love my Corsair 8 Hero Dark.
Yeah.
Which chipset is the Corsair 8?
X570, I think.
Oh, is that X570? Okay, yeah. I was going to say, there's someone out there who's got a Corsair 6 or a Corsair 7 or something.
Yeah.
And that was a motherboard that probably would have cost £400, £500.
Yeah.
It's X570, fair enough, yeah. The older Corsairs, there's going to be people out there. I mean, is it Postal who's got a Corsair 7 or a Corsair 6?
Do you mean Crosshair?
Crosshair, yeah, sorry.
Crosshair,
yeah.
Not Corsair.
Shut. Who has an X370 Hero 7 Cross.
It'd be a 6.
6. That's a motherboard that would have cost about £400 or £500 new. And so at that point, they're like, you're damn right I expect to do an in-socket upgrade on this motherboard.
Yeah.
So at that point, I can understand it. But then my genuine opinion is I don't like super expensive motherboards either.
Sure, absolutely. But it's also a case of you don't need to buy a super expensive motherboard.
Yeah.
You can have bought a middle-of-the-road X370 board and stuck a 5600 in it. So you could have bought what would have been a £110, £120 motherboard
Yeah.
and get nearly 100% performance scaling
That's just
in
it.
socket
And it's worth noting
for a
that,
cost of £100, £150.
yeah. And through Ryzen 1000, 2000, and 3000, the only disadvantage of AMD saying we're going to support this socket until 2020, the only problem was the BIOS updating issue.
Was the palaver that was.
That's right. And it's a case of that could have been more gracefully managed just by actually forking BIOSes and just being very clear with what BIOS upgrades would and would not do. There was no actual technical limitations. It was, it wasn't a matter of, well, there were very few meaningful technical limitations.
There were a couple of limitations on a couple of boards because a couple of boards were garbage.
Yeah.
But you're going to have that either way anyway.
Yeah.
And because AMD kept good wraps on the peak power usage,
Yeah.
it was fine anyway. It then wasn't a problem.
Yes, agreed, because the VRMs would have been a significant limiting factor.
Had we gone from Ryzen 1000 series being a peak power usage of 120 watts, and then to Ryzen 5000 series being a peak power usage of 300 watts.
Yeah.
If that had happened, anything but the two actually good overclocking X470 boards wouldn't have cut it.
Yeah.
And then 50% of X570 boards wouldn't have cut it.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Maria says, I'm upgrading from a Ryzen 1600 to a 5700X on an ASRock X370. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's a case of, a 5700X, that's going to be what, £250, something like that? 200. Let's say it's going to be £280. That's it. If you needed a new motherboard for that, that's going to be £150 at least for something that's worth buying.
Yeah.
And that turns a cheap upgrade into an expensive upgrade. And like you said, going from a 1600X to a 5700X, that's going to change his world. That's going to be mind-blowing, the difference in performance between those two CPUs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a case of, just because the group of people who benefit from it are small doesn't necessarily mean it shouldn't be done. So yeah, I don't know.
I think at the very least 3 generations of support is a minimum that we should demand.
Yeah, it's certainly a good thing to aim for. So yeah,
but I think it's a case of the community should demand 3 generations of support.
Yeah.
Because even if you only stop one motherboard going into e-waste,
yeah,
that's still a motherboard stopped from going into e-waste.
There's going to be
we need to consider that.
Yeah. And if we bring this round to the original issue again, there's going to be a whole bunch of people who, when 12th Gen came out, when Alder Lake came out, they went out and bought a top-end Alder Lake motherboard for their shiny new i7 or i9. And that motherboard is only going to be good for one generation. And that sucks. Whereas if you said 3 generations, I think that's very reasonable, because I said no one's upgrading from 12th Gen to 13th Gen.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. But 12th Gen to 14th Gen, that's very plausible.
Because that could be a 30% single core improvement.
Exactly that. So if you said we're going to provide 3 generations of support for this, that means you can leapfrog every other generation, and that is 100% reasonable.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
very reasonable. So yeah, I'm just going to check what the counter is on. Hang on a sec.
How do I alt tab?
Yeah, 3 hours. Yeah, we should start wrapping up in a minute, just because we've been going for 3 hours.
Yeah.
This has been a very interesting conversation, but 3 hours.
So yeah, but AMD haven't specifically committed to socket support for AM5. However, they have airily said that they are looking to provide similar levels of support, kind of thing.
I wouldn't expect, because AM4 was what, 5 years? It ended up being?
I don't know, but
When did
obviously
Ryzen 1?
I'd measure it by generation.
Yeah.
Well, Ryzen 1 came out in 2017, I think.
In 17. Yeah,
I
so
think
it was
2016, 2017.
approximately 5 years of support then, wasn't it?
I
Yeah.
wouldn't specifically look by number of years, but by
Yes.
number of
Understandable.
generations supported, because obviously,
Well,
if you don't release...
the thing is, they said they would support it until 2020. So that they gave a year of support, not X many generations.
Oh yeah,
of support.
absolutely.
So,
No, but I think a case of demanding 3 generations, not 3 years, because if they release processors every 18 months,
that's
still
yeah.
only one actual upgrade generation.
Yeah. So, I think AMD, when they said we're going to support it, we're going to support AM4 until 2020, and they provided X many years of support, I think that was unreasonable. I think they took it to an extreme, and by the time we got to Ryzen 5000, the cracks were showing because of BIOS support. As Lead Farmer pointed out, the issue with this was with the size of BIOS chips and how many CPU microcodes can you fit into a BIOS chip.
The issue was also, to a degree, the fact that AMD released 170 processors on AM4.
Yeah,
that's part of the problem.
Yeah,
they
there were
didn't
too
need
many
to
damn
release
CPUs.
170 in 5 years.
Yeah. AM4 did not need to have A series APUs on it.
Yeah.
But it did. However, that's beside the point.
Also a case of possibly that will be an issue that is slightly mitigated, because the fact of like the very bottom APUs don't need to exist anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly
because you've got RDNA2 in the I/O die.
Yeah, we won't need the A series of APUs is literally obsolete now. We don't know if there will be an A series CPU in the next generation, but it certainly doesn't need to exist.
There will be an A620 chipset.
Yeah, the branding of the A series APUs has no real value because no one gave a shit about it anyway.
Yeah.
So they could just make the A7400 the bottom end. However,
but you wouldn't even need to. You can just make the 75. You can just make a 7500 or a 7600, and it's good enough as an APU and miles better as a CPU.
Yeah. Suffice to say, yeah, I agree. So I think hopefully we will see AMD make a commitment of saying we're going to provide 3 generations of support. I don't. Yeah. The point I wanted to make was I don't think we need AMD to provide the same commitment that they did for AM4. I don't think that is necessary. However, hopefully we will see them continue to commit to longer support than Intel does to push that envelope, to raise that bar and say Intel only doing 2 generations at a time is not useful. Because the thing is Intel only supporting 2 generations at a time is not useful.
Yeah.
And because we've seen this through the incremental generations of Intel, you know, with, for example, 2nd and 3rd gen, then 4th gen, then 6th and 7th, then 8th and 9th, and then 10th and 11th being paired together. Those have not been useful because no one upgrades by 1 generation, or not a meaningful number of people anyway. So it's a case of if you're only going to support 2 generations, there's no use in that because the vast, vast majority of people are going to buy a new motherboard anyway. So, whereas, like you say, if they did 3 generations, that would actually be useful because people can leapfrog generations.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. That's the point that I wanted to make.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of a single generation upgrade is so uncommon.
Yeah.
That it's unhelpful. Whereas having 2 generation upgrade makes it worthwhile to so many more people that is what we should be demanding of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris says, I keep suggesting that you slap an A3 and a Z690.
It's because the Z690 was cheaper and better than all of the Beef 660s that were available.
Yeah, that's why we did it. Yeah, that's why I said put an A390 and a Z690 is because, sorry, an i3 and a Z690 is because it was a really good value for money motherboard.
Yeah, because it was like 50 quid off.
It was a case of I could buy a low-end motherboard, or I could spend like another £40 and have a flagship chipset that later on down the line can be upgraded to from an i3 to an i9.
If
you know,
someone happened to want to.
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
Case in point, the kid who we did the PC giveaway with, that was an i3 in a Z670. No, Z6. It was a Z6. Z690 was the 12th gen, isn't it?
Yeah. It was in that.
Sorry, I'm anyway,
Utterly past it.
Yeah, I'm gazeboed.
Yes, we put the i3 in that Gigabyte board
so
because that Gigabyte UD board was better value than the B660 boards that were available.
That's right. And what I said to that kid when we were building the PC and afterwards, I said, this is an i3 in a Z690. This is not a good pairing. But in a year or two, when i7 or i9 Alder Lake CPUs are secondhand cheap, you can drop an i7 or an i9 straight into this motherboard and do an in-socket upgrade and get triple or quadruple the performance that you currently have.
On multi-threading.
That's right.
You'll get nothing from single threading, basically.
Sure. However, if we'd put in a low or mid-range motherboard, if you wanted to actually improve the CPU performance of this PC, you would immediately need a motherboard upgrade as well. Yeah. And in which case, you may as well go to another generation.
Yeah, but it wasn't a case of the CPU upgrade that was the thing that was important anyway. It was the fact that the I/O on the available...
Cost.
Well, it was the fact that the I/O that was available on B660 and B...
Yeah, it was TAP.
5...
Yeah.
What, B5...
The B series were like
H610, whatever it was.
The B
they
series
came with 4 USB ports and that was it.
Yeah, it was like 4 USB ports and a Type-C port if you were lucky. Maybe 5+1, counting the Type-C as a +1, if you were lucky. Whereas the Z690 was just like, cool, here's 8 USB Type-A ports. This is actually useful,
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, it was a case of that. It was because of the price and the number of USB ports and stuff like that, not specifically the in-socket upgrades for the CPU.
Yeah.
Because, as we said, basically no one does that.
Yeah.
And it's not particularly relevant as a point.
Yeah. Then later on down the line, he could put a 13th generation i7 in there instead of the 12th gen i9. Wait, no, he can't, because 13th gen is going to be on a new socket. So yeah, and that brings us full circle around to the fact that you won't be able to put a 13th gen in there. Okay. Actually, you raise an interesting point there, Chris. I say no one is upgrading from 12th gen to 13th gen. Actually, if you had an Alder Lake i3 and then, you own this PC for a year or two, 13th gen comes out, and you go from an i3 to a 13th gen i7, that would be the time when you do a one generation update, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but although I'd imagine that you'd do that like 2 years, 3 years later, when the 14th gen has come out and 13th gen has just crashed in price.
Yeah, maybe.
Just before 14th gen comes out and that has a price crash there. Yeah. That's when you'd possibly do it.
Yeah.
But the problem is, because the Intel chips don't seem to drop in price.
Yeah.
It then makes it less likely.
Secondhand, yes.
Because it's like the fact of the i9 9900K is still 300 and something pound on eBay. And like for 300 and something pounds, you know what else I can buy? A 12400F.
Yeah.
And a motherboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if I'm just CPUing, I can get a 12600K.
Yeah. Yeah, as JE says, probably better to go from an i3 to an i9 on the 1700 socket, even if 13th gen is already out. So yeah, well, yeah, you pick up all of the second-hand i7s and i9s that will hit the market when 13th gen comes out, because there will be those people who do their every generation update and will just sell off their stuff. There will be people out there that do that. But on the other hand, like you say, though, they may hold their value, and a 12th gen i7 a second-hand 12th gen i7 may be the same price as a 13th gen i7, because that's how the second-hand market works.
Yeah.
Is sometimes the prices just don't make sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, right. Quick catch up on the chat, and then we're going to shoot because it's time to go. There's always been a problem with the best Intel processors. Even used, they remain expensive to upgrade. Yeah, precisely agree.
Yeah.
And it's lots of people who are happy to build PCs, don't like the BIOS flash, because for 30 years we were told don't do it unless you have to. Dual BIOS often requires soldering if it goes bad. Yeah, I think BIOS updating has become significantly safer than it used to be, especially because right now not every motherboard has flashback, but like the number of motherboards with flashback is drastically higher than it used to be. Flashback used to be top-end motherboards only, whereas now it's only low-end motherboards that don't have it, I think. I think that seems reasonable to say.
And it's certainly very much moving in that way and very much becoming far more available.
So it's vastly safer to do BIOS flashes than it used to be. And especially with Windows Update dishing out BIOS updates as well. Although I've never seen BIOS updates on a custom-built PC. I've only ever seen that on like an OEM laptop or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's something we're going to see in a hurry. But yeah, very good. Boards with a JTEG header, you can plug an EZP29 into it. Yes, but no one's going to do that. Unless you're Lead Farmer. Anyway, I have enjoyed this conversation in English.
Good. I too have been a part of this conversation.
Yeah. We're going to end the stream now.
It.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. I've got to go quickly because he's hitting the end button. Thank you everyone. Thanks for the super chat. See you next time. Bye.